Let's call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
I don't see him.
Trustee Luther.
Here.
Trustee McNeil. Here. Trustee Martinez.
Here.
Trustee Pierce.
Present.
Trustee Peterson. Present. Mayor Gurton.
Present. All right. We have a full house here early on, so a couple acknowledgments. For June. This is Pride Month, as we all know. We also have Juneteenth coming up next week, and then of course Father's Day this weekend. So hopefully you take your fathers out somewhere nice in Antioch this weekend. We have a retirement and a couple promotions. So I will start with the retirement of Deputy Chief Norm Johnson. Oh, there he is. There he is.
It's not a promotion.
Up front, but it's like last time I get the boss you around the. And Mayor, before we begin, if we could just have a moment of silence for CPP fallen officer Christopher Vera and the watch. Thank you. So tonight we come together to recognize someone whose name has become synonymous with professionalism, precision, and let's be honest, a fair amount of intensity. Deputy Chief Norm Johnson just isn't retiring. He's wrapping up 24 years of being the anchor, the conscience, and the low-key enforcer of order at the Antioch Police Department. Now, Norm rarely needs to raise his voice to make his point. He had other ways. For starters, there was that signature face, turning an unmistakable shade of apple red. Someone really got under his skin. But instead of blowing up, Norm had a very specific response. He'd suddenly disappear into some random storage closet or the garage within an hour, organized with military precision. Shelves labeled, inventory barcoded, an extension cord zip tied by color and length. At that point, you knew better than to interrupt that process. It was his form of therapy and a silent warning that you may want to rethink any decisions you have recently made. And there comes the cones. Traffic cones. To Norm, cones weren't just tools. They were a system. Every squad car had to have the same number of cones, perfectly matched. Reflective cones with reflective cones. Non-reflective cones, non-reflective. Orange with orange. Yellow cones. That was practically a personal insult. And if someone mixed non-reflective cone in with the reflective cones, let's just say you were lucky if all you got was the red face. That usually triggered a full garage lockdown and a spontaneous inventory overhaul. But here's what mattered most. Norm didn't care about precision just to be precise. He cared because he understood that every small thing mattered, because they reflect the big things. Every log, every form, every interaction, it was all part of public trust to Norm. And Norm lived that every day. That mindset didn't escape just how we work. It's what helped shape who we are. I'll never forget February of 2020. I had just stepped in as acting chief under less than ideal circumstances. Norm was away at Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command, and I called him and I said, "I need you." Without hesitation, he packed up and came home to a department staring down a global pandemic, civil unrest, and more uncertainty than we had ever faced. That spring and summer were chaos. A global pandemic, civil unrest, protests, and community threats. But Norm was the calm in the storm, if you can believe it. I'd walk in ready to kick down a door or bulldoze through a decision, and he'd give me that look and usually said what become his tagline, "Calm this thing." Not because he didn't feel the urgency, but because he always saw the bigger picture and needed to slow down and think about things differently. I'll never forget the many times it would be 11 o'clock at night. We'd be going over the same operational plan for what felt like the 17th time. We were both ready to move on, exhausted from working another 16-hour day in the midst of the unrest. But somehow during the 18th review, he would look it over one last time and say, "This won't work." And of course, he was usually right. That was Norm. He was always somehow caught the things that the rest of us missed. He said what needed to be said, even if it wasn't popular, and he did it all with unshakable purpose. He always led by being willing to stay late, to double check the plan, being willing to be first through the door, and never asking others to do something he would not do himself. And in the process, teaching younger officers what it really means to care. Now, anyone who knows Norm knows that his golf is his true passion. Every summer, Norm just disappeared. I'd send a random text, and I'd get a polite reply. By the end of the season, I would always start to think and wonder, had Norm just retired and forgotten to tell me? And then just like that, October would roll around, and Norm would stroll back in the door. As a result of this routine over the last 5 years, to be honest, standing here today, I'm not really certain he's actually retiring. Part of me expects that he's going to walk back into the fall, sit in his chair, and resume what he always did best, lead. Norm, your impact here will last far beyond today. Through your example, you've shaped the culture, trained the next generation, and elevated all of us. The standards you set, whether in leadership, casework, or proper cone management, are now part of the fabric in this department. And so as you step into this next chapter, more cooking, more golf, and probably more alphabetizing your own things, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. And most importantly, thank you for your friendship. Well done. Great, Nick. It's your time. Come on in, buddy.
No. Hi.
Look up from all of us to you. Thank you for all your service. The largest shadow box in the park history.
That came out big. Somebody putting in the truck to try to find
We use it now and you get it out.
Awesome.
All right, Norm, we have one more thing here for you. We have this little plaque here for you. It just says, Norm Johnson, Deputy Chief of Police, with deep appreciation for your exceptional leadership and unwavering dedication and 24 years of honorable service to the village of Antioch, your pursuit of excellence and enduring commitment to the public service leave an indelible mark on the department and the community, presented June 11th, 2025. Congratulations. Final word, Marks.
I saw it earlier. There's something to be said about having little. I don't want to say. Everybody says peccadillos. I have them. Everybody in the department knows I have them, and it's just the manner of, like, we all have them, right? That's just what makes you up. Makes us individuals, I guess. I didn't prepare anything, but I think anybody that's worked with me for 1 week or 24 years knows that I don't need to have prepared something in order to make a speech or just talk, ramble on, and I won't. I promise I won't do it. Last 24 years, it goes by quick. Academy partner back in the room, Tim Lynch, Sergeant Lynch back there. We talked a little bit about it, and it's amazing how we both recall walking in on the first day and meeting in the lobby our first day of work, and the lieutenant at the time, Ron Roth, I'm sure that name rings a bell in this village, greeted us and walked us in, and that was day one.
and off to the academy, and next thing you know, 24 years later, here we are, and said bittersweet, sure. I think I golf with Watts quite a bit, and he mentioned something about bittersweet. It is. I'm gonna miss it. I miss the job. I miss serving the community, and I'm really gonna miss all the people I work with. But I would be remiss if I told you that I'm really not gonna miss it that much. I am looking forward to the unemployment. Been 40 years that I've had a job, including in college. So it's time just to not do anything and enjoy it. And then who knows, maybe you'll see me at a golf course getting started. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for coming out. God bless.
All right, congratulations, and I'm sure you'll be golfing quite a bit. All right, next.
Jared, next, Mayor. A little out of order, Jared.
Okay, so next we have the promotion of Sergeant Jared Rusali to Commander. Again, Chief Gutchow and the clerk will administer the oath of office.
Proud to begin with something special and meaningful by officially promoting Sergeant Rusali to the rank of Commander of Patrol. We're fortunate to be joined by Jared's wife, Taryn, who will be pinning his badge shortly, along with their children, Everest and Braxton, and I'm told that Joy is homesick this evening, watching remotely. Also joined by his father and stepmother, Jeff, who is also our department chaplain, and Sherry, his mother-in-law, Jennifer, his brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Mike and Selena, and his brother, Justin, is also joining us virtually. It's always a special moment we can share these milestones with the people who stood by our officer's side through the years. Now let's talk about Jared. Jared began his journey with us as a community service officer back in 2007. He was hired as a full-time police officer in 2009, and he marked 16 years of dedicated service to the village of Antioch. In that time, he earned a reputation for being reliable, hardworking, tactically sharp, and somehow having handwriting so that it qualifies as a crime scene. I'm serious. Jared's handwriting is the stuff of legends. You'd think with hands as big as his, like actual bear paws, he'd have fine motor skills to control the control of a calligrapher. But no, the reality is anytime a report comes across our clerk's desks with Jared's name on it, they light a candle, say a quick prayer, and begin the decoding process. We've actually considered sending his reports to the FBI just to figure out if they could figure out what he wrote. But all jokes aside, there is no denying Jared's professionalism and the dedication he brings to every assignment. Over the years, he's served as a field training officer, evidence technician, and instructor in just about every area you can think of. Defense tactics, firearms, taser, ballistic shield, use of force, breaching, you name it. At some point, I just stopped trying to keep track of his certifications. He has so many, and I half expected him to walk in tonight wearing a sash like a pageant winner. Jared is also a proud member of NIPA's EST, the regional SWAT team, where he moved up through the ranks from containment assistant squad leader to assistant team leader, and this year he's set to become the containment team leader. That's no small feat, and it speaks volumes about how he's regarded by tactical professionals across the region. And he looks the part, doesn't he? I mean, honestly, have you seen this guy? If you took G.I. Joe action figures I played with as a kid, gave them a tactical vest, a few dozen certifications, and added just a touch of suburban dad energy, you'd get Jared. But that's not just quite accurate. You'd also need to throw in He-Man, because Jared doesn't look like he's ready for a mission. He looks like he was created in the lab specifically for one. Honestly, if G.I. Joe and He-Man had a tactical baby clone, and that clone was raised on kettlebells, humility, and protein shakes, you'd have Jared. He is quite literally the guy you want next to you when things go bad. When plans fall apart, when danger shows up, or when someone's life is on the line, Jared is the kind of leader who brings clarity, calm, and strength. He's dependable, courageous, and absolutely unflappable. But what I admire most about Jared isn't the action figure presence. It's what happens in the quiet moments. His unwavering commitment to training, to mentoring, and bringing out the best in people. He doesn't lead from above, he leads from beside you. He has the integrity to tell someone when they're wrong, calmly, directly, and with the intent to make them better. But he also has the humility to constantly look for what people are doing right and the wisdom to recognize and reinforce that. That balance, accountability with encouragement is rare. And it's the kind of leadership that builds a healthy culture and a high-performing team. So tonight, we just don't promote someone who looks the part. We promote somebody who lives the part. A leader, a mentor, a problem solver, and one of the good guys through and through. So please join me in congratulating Commander Jared Versali on this well-deserved promotion.
I, Jared Versali, having been appointed as Commander of the Village of Antioch Police Department in the County of Lake, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Commander to the best of my ability. Family.
One more for the magazine.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have one more promotion. We have the promotion of Sergeant Audra Bonarati to Commander. And again, Chief Gutchow and the clerk Romine will do the oath and the honors.
Okay, meow. As I said it, meow, let's get down to business. Tonight it's my honor to promote Sergeant Audra Bonarati to the rank of Commander of Investigations, Police Department. It's a historic moment, a well-earned one, and for Audra, likely a stressful one, considering she has no control over what I'm about to say. Let's be honest, she's brought this on herself. Over the years, she's left popcorn butter stains on government property, hidden remotes like a gremlin, and nearly fumigated the department with enough hairspray and incense to suffocate a medium-sized village. So I figured tonight, maybe I get just a little payback. Maybe I return the favor by building up just enough anxiety about this speech that left her Aquanet struggling to hold fast while she slept. Don't fret. If it starts to flake off mid-ceremony, we're just going to call it Commander Confetti. Now let's talk about the real Audra. She's a lot of things. She's a brilliant investigator. She's fiercely compassionate. She's loyal, determined, and sharp. But let's not kid ourselves. She's also a full-blown crazy cat lady with what can only be described as a deeply concerning relationship with fountain pens. She's a lot of. You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not. She's got more fountain pens than a calligrapher's convention. And for someone who writes that much, probably be surprised to learn that yes, she even talks to herself in the car. We all do it sometimes, but she quite literally gives herself full pep talks. Motivational speeches, perhaps. Some would call it monologues. One time back when I was the commander of operations while reviewing video, I once heard herself give herself a full-blown pep talk as she navigated a three-point turn to pursue a traffic violator. Which remarkably closed with, Okay, you got this. Let's not fail to mention that Audra also has only child syndrome, which is why if you tell her no, she will pout in a way that makes you question your own judgment. But she's also got a heart so big it made the Grinch weep. Back when she was working midnights, her squad car was famous, or infamous, depending on who you ask, for being coated in popcorn grease. She just didn't eat popcorn while on duty. She made it part of her lifestyle. The floor looked like a movie theater. The radio mic slid across the console like it was on ice. I tell you what, that car never squeaked. It was water and friction free. Now, I really thought I'd really try to get the upper hand tonight. I wanted to call Mama B, her mother, to get some embarrassing stories. I figured that was at least she deserved after years of glitter pens and hostage propelled remotes. But before I could make the call, Audra found out and warned me. Calmly and casually, she said, if you do, I'll follow you around every day for a week and think about funny things and cackle repeatedly. Her laugh can be, how do I put it, politely, cringeworthy. In any event, I believed her, and Mama B never heard from me. And of course, we all know about the great television remote lockdowns. If you leave the TV on at the PD, it's sure to go missing. The remote, I mean. Gone, hidden. She turns the entire station into a low-grade escape room until it's found. Despite all this, or maybe even because of it, Audra is one of the most devoted public servants you'll ever meet. Her passion for supporting victims, her leadership in the most difficult investigations, and her heart for the work, it all makes her the exact person we want and need in this role. She joined our department in February of 2014 as a lateral hire. On August of 2021, she became the first female detective sergeant in our department's history. And tonight, we honor another milestone. Audra becomes the first female commander in the history of the Antioch Police Department. That's not just a title. It's a message to the women in this profession, to every officer on the rise, and to our entire community, that leadership comes in all forms. And we are committed to building a department where talent, dedication, and heart are what will rise to the top. She's earned this with hard work, strong leadership, and relentless service. She chairs the Lake County Sexual Assault Subcommittee, works closely with the Child Advocacy Center and NICASA, and leads efforts that bring justice to the most vulnerable in our community. She also holds a bachelor's degree from North Park University and a master's degree in Administration of Justice and Security from the University of Phoenix. Her badge will be pinned tonight by Bruce Johnson, CEO of NICASA, the man who first hired her and supported her ever since. Watching via Zoom are her beloved parents, Mama and Papa B, likely torn between pride and concern over whether I will make it out of here alive tonight with what I'm saying. Also sending their love and support are Roger and Pistachio, Audra's cats, and her unofficial advisors. With us in person are some of her closest friends, the gang as she calls them, including Deputy Chief Melissa Secluti of the Evanston PD, who has served as a mentor and instructor during her staff and command journey. Also joining us are Judge Matthew Martini and Chief Deputy Coroner Steve Newton. Geez, Audra. So you posted an ad on Craigslist and said, seeking highly prestigious, well-connected individuals to attend a ceremony. Must be influential, accomplished, and willing to pretend they came here for any other reason. In all seriousness, Audra, this promotion is a credit to your skill, your commitment, your leadership, and your grit. You're blazing a trail whether you realize it or not, and you're doing it with compassion, professionalism, and yes, a whole lot of hairspray. When you leave here tonight, you are driving home. I hope you can hear my voice talking instead of yours. I will be saying, Audra, you got this. Meow, I would ask the turf clerk.
I, Audra Bonarotti, having been appointed as commander of the Village of Antioch Police Department in the County of Lake, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the State of Illinois. No, faithfully discharge the duties of commander to the best of my ability.
Black guys work hard.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations, everybody. Congratulations on your promotions. Norm, congratulations on your retirement. I'll see you on Thursday nights at the golf course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, take it easy when we play each other, okay?
No.
Yeah, enjoy the evening. And, you guys could leave and the temperature will go down about 20 degrees.
I was reading. Sorry.
Yeah.
People are leaving the room for the board and staff. Just I want to introduce Ryan Miller, who is selling law. He's here for June tonight. He'll be Southbury. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Where'd you have to go? Oh, that's great. Yeah. Sir. All right, well, we have another presentation. I'm gonna welcome up here in a moment the Antioch Area Outreach. I believe Matt Tabar is here, Jim Menzer is here. They're gonna give a little presentation on what their group is doing up here at the podium. And I want to say I thank them for their hard work. Just as a little, they'll probably fill you in on this, but I don't know, maybe 12, 18 months ago, we had a little group in here of about 5 or 6 people talking about what we could do to help, homeless people in Antioch and get them resources this side of the expressway. And the last meeting I went to, you had about 40 or 80 people there. You had a lot of people. So this is really grown through their leadership. So I want to thank them for taking the lead on this.
Thanks for having us this evening. So my name is Matt Tabor, my work partner, Jim Menzer. We're both longtime Antioch residents, members of the Rotary Club, both retired superintendents. I was at Evans School District and Jim was at Milburn. In our retirement, we're working with the Regional Office of Education and manage the homeless education program for Lake and McHenry counties. And that gets involved with a lot of different projects and things. And we've been involved with this Antioch area outreach program that really has grown this year. And we wanted to share with you some of what's happening within the community and all that. So we're going to share this presentation and just a few things that are going on.
We work with, our primary role is to ensure that children of homeless families in our travels to the 69 different school districts, we've noted that in many communities, it's not recognized that homelessness is an issue. Not this one. We've been very pleasantly surprised. I have a few statistics. These are the Antioch area schools, and listed on these are number of homeless kids that are reported by the school districts. We actually work with about 1,859 in Lake County. These are the ones that are identified by schools as being homeless. And the sheet I just passed out lists about 44 kids in our area that are listed by the schools as homeless. each one of them has a family. And we can all think of people that we've seen in Antioch that are probably homeless. And what we decided was that since libraries are a place where homeless people can actually go and not be kicked out, we would start with libraries to get the word out and distribute information about awareness of homelessness. And in meetings that we've had, we've had 30 people come to meetings about learning how to deal with homeless people in libraries. We've had several meetings at the library, and the crowds range from 20 to 50. And we've been meeting every month. The groups that meet with us are AHA, the Antioch Police Force, the Open Arms Mission, and several other health agencies. We have put together a resource guide. I think I left.
Yeah, I passed it on. Yeah.
And we've distributed those about 20 different sites, and they're getting used up. So somebody's picking those resources up to help them to find what they might be able to use to assist us. And also distributed Narcan boxes for those that might be suffering from addiction. And we put those in various places around the community. At your turn.
Well, again, the organization has grown quite a bit. We have 63 people on the mailing list currently. And whenever we have a meeting, then we send out the minutes of what's going on. And so I'll pass this around to people who are interested in getting on the mailing list to kind of see what's happening and all. But again, we wanted to be here tonight to talk to you because this has grown beyond just poverty and homelessness within the area and going into a lot of other things. Jim mentioned the Narcan and now Commander Bronaretti, sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong, and Officer Smith were very impassioned in bringing that word to our group and saying, we've got to get this out for our people. We don't want to see another death in this community because we don't have the medication for people for that. So we've got it available at 3 different sites now, I think. So we decided in December, let's get the word out and let's make sure that people are aware of what's happening in terms of poverty, homelessness, and so on. We sent letters to each of you as board members, to the township board, to all of the school board members, to the churches and so on. And we thought we'd have a dozen people at the meeting. We had 50 people there, which I think is just a testament to Antioch and the care and concern that people have there. And again, as Jim mentioned, that has grown. We've had training sessions, countywide training sessions for library and library staff, township case managers and township officials and all. So, and in fact, there's one more program that we have coming in, that's next Wednesday, and that is Housing Solutions in Lake County, being presented by a professional dealing with housing issues. So again, in addition to just homelessness and poverty, the Narcan, we got a bed program going together, and I think Chief Cokefair left from the fire department. He brought it to our attention, and as the work they're all doing at the fire department, they have, there he is, okay, think about. He said, would we be the right organization to try to distribute, because they were getting new mattresses and beds for their staff, and the stuff they had was really, really in good shape, only slept by a fireman when he wasn't at home, right? Anyway, we got the word out, and since then we've distributed 14 beds and mattresses. We've combined that with the Antioch Rotary Club, who provided the linens, and Penny's Purpose, who provided the blankets. We went with the fire department several times to set up in houses, and we've gone out everywhere from Waukegan to North Chicago and several other places. And one house was just before Christmas. It was such an amazing sight. The family was there. The chief brought hats or helmets for the kids and little bags and all of that. They were hugging him. We were all in tears. They were so happy to have the beds and all of that. Now the beds are all gone now, but Rotary has committed to, we will continue with this. So if anybody else needs beds, we'll actually, we did the at the beer tasting or the beer tent, we had the tip jar. We made $400 for kids, and we'll put other money in it if we need it to make sure that we're not going to say program's gone because we don't have money. Jim talked about the flyers. We've got those out at 10 different sites within the community. We've had the Antioch Fire Department has been there with their mobile integrated healthcare. A Wall That Heals gave a presentation to our group. And so we feel like it's kind of been growing and lots of people are coming with a lot of interest. As we talk about poverty and homelessness within the community, you know, there's the visible and there's the invisible. If we see somebody who's on the street, we say, what's going on with that person and so on. In fact, you might recall there was a person who was kind of on the street a few months ago. And I know you got calls, we know the township got calls, who's doing anything? Well, the county had been out, heads had been out, several agencies had been out, but you can't force somebody. And that person said, when it gets cold, you know, and quite honestly, often homelessness is not just a matter of I lost my home. There's often substance abuse, mental illness issues, domestic violence. There's all kinds of things that lead up to it. And so that person got some help. They got an apartment, and you might notice they're back on the street now. That tells you, like, this is not something we can just say, we fixed it, we solved it. On the other hand, the story I can tell you is that township was notified that someone who was living in a storage unit. They had owned a home, they got evicted and didn't know what to do. They owned a storage unit and they were sleeping there. They called the township. I think because of our efforts here, township who we call TADS, they got some help. That person got some services and is in a motel at this point. Again, is that going to last forever? We don't know. But, you know, a lot of people are right on the edge, and maybe you see them on the street, but there's a lot of people hurting that aren't on the street. You know, the police department was very active with this. They have shared with us the guy in the red truck. You know, we might want to talk to him. And services can be offered, but they aren't necessarily going to be accepted. So anyway, we just wanted to share with you the story of what's going on and good things that we're proud of to say.
Yeah, I want to commend you guys. Thank you because, like I said, all the services for any of this is usually in Waukegan or you know, quite a distance from here. So for anybody to get there and to get help, it's almost impossibility. So them bringing the awareness to this side of the county and working to get people resources locally is a great effort. So thank you very much.
You know, it takes a village.
Yep.
And Jim talked a little bit about school homeless, children homelessness. And we have in the schools that feed into Antioch High School and all of the Peter schools, we have 45 kids that are identified as being homeless. Now, often those kids are sharing, doubled up, we call it, living with grandparents or family or relatives or whatever. Again, that's not as visible out in the community. They're not on the street, but they're out there. And so there is poverty within this community that we can't just ignore. And we think we've got a strong community that's going to work at trying to solve it.
Thank you. And again, these guys also, this is the type of stuff you get from Rotary Club. So if you're ever interested in learning about Rotary, contact them because they can always use the members and the bodies to help with stuff. So.
We've had village support. We've had tremendous support from the fire department.
All right, thank you.
You've done. If I could just say one thing here.
The meetings are open to anyone. Sitting in there and seeing community come in and for a spot where they can ask, how do I volunteer? These two gentlemen, others there, it's incredible. This, how do you guys pay? Do you want to get better? So now, thank you.
Thank you again. Oh, you stay here?
Yeah.
Keep these? Okay, yeah, okay.
You want to keep those?
Yeah, keep them at the front. We're gonna make sure they're in our front lobby. Thank you. All right, so citizens wishing to address the board, Madam Clerk will read the parameters, and then we'll move on to the citizens portion.
The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a comment to make about the business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the village, and public input is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of this meeting. Please be respectful for the duties of the board and the democratic process in your comments tonight. Please state your name and address your comments to the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be factual and courteous, and the board requests that you not make statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. To the extent multiple speakers are addressing a single issue, the mayor reserves the right to limit the number of speakers making public comment of a repetitive nature and or limit the amount of time for public comment. The board does not respond to comments or attempt to answer questions during the public comment period. Mr. Stuart Walsh.
Mine is for the call meeting.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it either time, so we'll do the comedy, that's fine.
Thank you.
Lionel Ferris.
My name is Lyle Ferris. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served boots on the ground in 1969 to 70. I'm usually a day late and $1 short on a lot of things. I have people that call me from out of town that my friends have moved away, and they tell me more news about this town than I know that I'm here. Because it's very little that I learned from, I don't read the paper anymore, I look at internet, but anyway. I just wanted you to know about the memorial that they proposed for the veterans down here by the swamp or the whatever it is. I'm just totally insulted by everything. I picked up a paper when I went to the VA here last week, the Lake County Chronicle. Like I said, I very seldom read papers, so I don't really know what's going on. I was born and raised. My father had Antioch Airport. I drove over the road for 30 years. So my time was spent more away from Antioch than being in Antioch. I think, and this is my opinion, I think you've already made up your minds what you're going to do, but I'm at least going to voice my opinion. I think that part of that memorial, the Forest Service branches and whatever they're going to put up there, I think you ought to move it right up here by the tank. You got tons of room there. And if you don't think you have enough room, the village owns the property between the tank and the post office. There's extra room there. It's an area that's seen by everybody that goes by all day long. I would hope, other than myself, that at least one person here knows of a KIA from Vietnam. And if you don't, I feel sad for you. I really do. I would hope that you would make a decision to maybe move it up here by Toft and Orchard. I know that the VFW and the American Legion can't get together on anything. They fight amongst themselves. I knew a lot of the commanders from the VFW. I wanted to join at one time. But the reason I didn't join, I had a real good friend, Dick Burnett. He told me, he said, Lyle, he says, you know what the smartest move you could do? And I said, what's that? Stay away from the VFW. I said, why? He said, because there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And that's one of the reasons why I stayed away. They're always bickering. They're always fighting for who has control of what. And I would hope that you would reconsider, other than putting the memorial down there, either to move it up here on Toft or maybe up by the high school. Maybe some of our young men and women, they're growing up, will see that memorial and maybe go into the service. There's opportunities galore in the service. my time, well, I ended up in Vietnam. So, and I was lucky to come back. And when I did come back, I got name calling, human feces thrown at me. I couldn't wait to get out of my uniform. That's how bad it was when I came into California. And to this day, I keep to myself. I don't talk to anybody on what I've seen. I've lost many friends, many. 1 minute they're there, next minute they're gone. That's how quick. Life is short. And what they ended up saying to us was, said, well, here's an extra $65 a month for combat pay. Oh, you're telling me my life is only worth $65 a month? I think that the veterans, especially in Antioch, should anyone that has served or that was killed in action or missing in action, I think they should have their names over here. I don't necessarily need my name on there. Yeah, I was there. I don't care to have my name there. You want to put it there, put it there. But I'm not advocating, just any of this just to have my name put on something.
Thank you for coming here and speaking up, and thank you for your service.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great evening. So we will move to the consent agenda. There are 2 items. Are there any items on the consent agenda that there is a request to remove? All right, otherwise I'll entertain a motion in a second. Consent agenda. So moved. Motion trustee Luther.
Second.
Second trustee Peterson. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce? Peterson?
Yes.
All right, 6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item number 3 is consideration and approval of payments of accounts payable as prepared by staff in the amount of $1,122,050.92. Do I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Motion trustee Peterson,
Second.
second trustee McNeil. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
All right, 6 voting yes, motion carries. The next items 4 through 9, 4 through 8, relate to items that were part of the village hall budget for final approval. Is that correct, Chief or Administrator?
The sign was alternate in the landscape.
Okay, so I'll go through these. First is consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the administrator to execute an agreement with Imperial Surveillance in the amount of $22,151.98 for the installation of door access controls at the new village hall located at 935 Skidmore Avenue. Resolution number 25-42. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion trustee Mason. Second trustee Pierce. Roll call, please.
Mason?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next is consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the administrator to execute an agreement with Imperial Surveillance in the amount of $25,587.45 to install a security camera system at the new village hall located at 935 Skidmore Drive. I'm sorry. Resolution number 25-43. Do I have a motion and a second?
So.
Motion trustee Masek,
Second.
second trustee Peterson. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item, consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing and approving alternate bid WA5 furnish and install the new dimensional letter signage for 935 Skidmore Drive at the new village hall for the total amount of $11,000 to Bowler Construction. Resolution number 25-44. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion trustee McNeil. Second. Second trustee Luther. Roll call, please.
Mason?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing and approving an alternate bid WA2 landscaping for 935 Skidmore for the new village hall in the total amount of $26,700 to Breezy Hill Nursery. Resolution number 25-45. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion, trustee McNeil, a second, trustee Pierce.
Just a quick question, the two regional nurseries off of the Skidmore Park, have they addressed the dead trees at Skidmore Park yet? I mean, at Seaport Creek Park?
I've been in contact with Bowler, who's general, to organize a meeting to go over the landscaping prior to the 1 year.
So it's going on.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mason?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Last item is consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the village administrator to purchase from Hendrickson the amount of $130,531.94. The furniture for the new village hall located at 935 Skidmore Drive. Resolution number 25-46. Do I have a motion and a second? So moved. Motion trustee Luther,
Second.
second trustee Peterson. Before roll call, if she's watching, thank you to Rachel and Lori and everybody else who worked on this, because I think the original amount was 170, so 175. So good job in getting this down. Roll call, please.
Mason?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Last item is consideration and approval of a resolution ratifying the village administrator's execution of a grant agreement with the state of Illinois Law Enforcement Training Standards Board and the Village of Antioch, Illinois in-car and body-worn camera system. Resolution number 25-47. Do I have a motion? Second. Motion trustee Masek,
Second.
second trustee Peterson. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Administrators report.
Thank you, Mayor. The update on how our Village Hall construction project is moving along. Interior finishes are officially underway. Contractors have begun painting. It's finally starting to actually look like finished space in some areas. Door frames have been installed and ceiling grids are being placed throughout the building, and we're really starting to get a feel for what it's going to look like. I can just echo a special thanks to the front office staff who work closer with their interior dezgners. They've been over the last couple of weeks helping pick up flooring, accent wall colors, all those kind of things that me and Dennis really should be in the business of doing. So we just really like to recognize them for taking the time out of their day to do that. They've been a true team effort to keep this moving. A little update on property maintenance. I know there's been a lot of questions and concerns in the community regarding the current state of the Orchard Plaza property. Last week, the property owner was summoned to an administrative hearing within our adjudication court in regards to numerous violations that both Director Kapari and Code Officer Madura had issued. Following the conclusion of that hearing, they had the opportunity to actually walk the site. The property owner who came from out of states, I think it's the first time he's been in town in probably more than 5 years, right closer to 10, to actually physically look at the condition of his property. So happy to report that both Director Kapari and Phil Madura have made a lot of progress. Both owners selecting colors currently for the new facade of the building, and they're again making updates, and I think we finally got his attention. So hopefully we'll begin to see some improvement in the condition of that property overall in the coming months. The Woods of Antioch Growth Project is officially underway. Contractor has been out doing saw cutting this week. Pavement removal is tentatively scheduled to begin next week. As previously noted, this is going to be a very complex summer-long project to be taking place. Our staff will continue to work with the contractor to make sure that our residents are informed of things that are taking place and as rolling road closures take place. I think we're all excited for tomorrow's summer concert series kickoff tomorrow with our headliner, the Marshall Tucker Band. I just want to acknowledge staff for all of their hard work. While it's over, done with in a matter of a couple hours, the planning began months ago on this. The administration securing and executing contracts, the parks coordinating some of the logistics, the public works preparing the facility and working for setup and layout, to the police department's development of emergency operations plan. I just like to extend thank you to all of our staff who work so hard to put on this amazing event for our community year after year. Just touching on the subject of public safety for the concert itself. As you know, the police department takes public safety as our top priority, and that doesn't stop with our large-scale community events. We will have a large contingent of officers assigned to various roles, and last count, we have approximately 14 of our staff assigned to detail to that. So they'll be divided amongst the concert venue, security, pedestrian crossing, and then also the additional patrols at Seaway Creek Park. The detail will be supervised and commanded by Commander Garcia. So I'd also like to just acknowledge him for all of his work in preparing these emergency plans and let the board know that our department is ready, confident, and safe, successful. Unless there's any questions for the board, my report.
And thank you to Chief Coker and the fire department too for
Yes, thank you.
helping us out with this. Thank you. Questions, comments for the administrator? All right, thank you. Hey, she has something here to say. Go to the clerk report.
In your packet is the annual facility inspection report for the NPDES permit for stormwater discharge. It's one of the annual tasks recommended by the IEPA. And also included in the Village of Antioch Stormwater Management Protection Plan is to present this annual report at a public meeting. So it is presented, no actions required. And if you have any questions, please ask.
All right, thank you. Question? All right. Next, any trustee reports over here? Any trustee reports here? Trustee Pierce?
Yes, I'm sorry that people weren't in this frame of mind, as Mr. Davis is speaking. I was at Northwestern Hospital yesterday, they were sites doing some work on their systems down there. And when I walked in the building, the first thing I saw was they had a nice distribution box for blocks along or Arcan or whatever, where it was available and easy to keep, so they just walk up and grab a box and mark it to use it. And so I sent a picture to the chief just to met paper with pocket saying, I can't do something like this and simply without a box. And I'm thinking maybe we could have that box around it, but we can see Great Big Park. With that and access. It's there, it's a central place in the community. It's easy for access and people can go.
Yeah, we do have a box currently made available for us. It's made for that specific purpose. And internally, we actually kind of wrestling where the right place to put it is. The easy button would be at the police department, but people are suffering from addiction. One of the last places they usually want to go is to the police department. As much as we tell them that we're here to help, they're always suspicious of our motives. So yes, if it was the goal of the board to place something over at Seaway Park, we certainly could do so. Thanks to grant funding, partner with Picasa was here earlier. We have a relatively unlimited supply and access to Narcan. They told us we won't have to worry about running out. It comes at no cost to the village and the community without funding grants.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you. Anyone else? All right, then that is for a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
Motion trustee Peterson, second.
Second.
Second, trustee McNeil. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned at 7:32. We'll do a 5-minute recess. Cool off for a minute. Come right back. Yeah.
I don't.
All right, I'm gonna call the committee of the whole meeting to order at 7:42. Roll call, please.
Trustee Mason?
Here.
Trustee Luther?
Here.
Trustee McNeil?
Here.
Trustee Martinez?
Here.
Trustee Pierce?
Present.
Trustee Peterson?
Present.
Mayor Gardner?
Present. No mayoral report at 2. Wishing to address the board. They're both regarding the public works. Would you prefer if I wait until that matter is presented, or do you want to do the public comment now?
Just about what they're handling with the runoff, I would just
Sure.
prefer to see what they're doing.
Okay, sure. Do you want to wait until the presentation?
That'd be fine.
Okay. And ma'am, I think you also did. Okay. All right, regular business. Approval of the May 28, 2025 meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion and a second? So moved. Motion trustee Bluthart. Second trustee Peterson. Roll call, please.
Mason?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Peterson?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna move number 5 to item number 2 real quick so we can discuss with the fire department and let them go on with their evening about the fire alarm monitoring program that was presented last time. There's questions, I think, by the board, so we asked the fire chief if he can come here and maybe answer any of the board's continuing questions that they had regarding this program. I had some questions and I think they've addressed most of those, but wasn't really here to present, but maybe if there's any clarification for the board or questions that they had, anything you wanted to add to the program. You know, what's the state, what it is today and how that would change if we go to this program, I guess, is something.
Okay, again, thank you for the opportunity to come back. We're always happy to come before the board, answer any questions you got. I brought the representatives from FSS, who I think are best handled to answer all your questions. We're happy to do a Q&A. Where we're at right now, we've presented to the village attorney a sample contract or ordinance for that, which I'm sure is being reviewed. Our attorney's reviewing it. Both attorneys have spoken, trying to get this project moving on. Again, what we're looking at is just trying to enhance response times and call transfers. That's what this is designed to do. So, gentlemen behind me, I'll let them introduce themselves. They can answer any questions you have for that.
And John, Chief, what is the current requirements of the fire department? You know, say if anybody has a business in town, they obviously have to have a sprinkler in the fire system.
Not a sprinkler, but a fire detection system. So we need a fire alarm for our business in the village.
And they're all currently having to pay for a service.
Correct. Okay. Correct. And hopefully they're up and running. You know, unless we're notified, you know, there's always the horror stories, which we talked about. You know, Piggly Wiggly, when they up and left, and the building owner didn't take care of their system. Everything was shut off. The sprinkler system froze, leaving that whole building unprotected.
And is there maybe in the packet? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Was there? I asked this question to staff. Currently, some people can be paying $120, $130 a month versus what they're proposing at $75. Is that
correct?
Accurate?
And these guys brought some data for you.
Okay.
To answer those questions, so very specific questions.
Sure.
I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah. My name's Garrett Eby, Chief Operating Officer at FSS. I have Josh Waldschmidt, who's our VP in Chicago, Plain area, and then Timmy, who runs our central station. He actually sets up the networks. And Josh has some data he'll share with you guys. So you actually would show. So as far as numbers go, we as a company currently serve, I would say what's 13,000 homes. Yeah, it's 10 right now. Okay. The pricing, obviously, I'm just going to give you a few examples. For example, Round Lake is $40 for the leased radio and $30 for the monitoring. Lake Zurich is $40 for the leased radio and $30 for the monitoring. Mundelein, $40 for the leased radio and $37 for the monitoring. Libertyville is $49 for the leased radio and $41 for the monitoring. And Gurney is $40 for the leased radio and $45. So it just kind of gives you an idea. It's more or less kind of all pretty good.
And those are the ones that you guys do.
Yes, and there's a couple others. We take care of Burn Hills, Waukegan, Punch. Yeah.
Are all current systems that would be in place in these businesses be compatible, or would there be a situation where somebody has to get a whole new system if we switch over to this?
My name is Tim Newman. Basically, systems that are put in, I'm going to say 95% of the cases, we have seen that AES radios work with all fire systems that are out. We've had some older ones that we've had some issues with. We end up finding problems with them when we go to install it. I got a crew of guys that will actually go out and install these radios. They'll notify me of any problems, and then at that point, we'll go back to the owner or fire chief, explain to them what's going on.
Questions by the board? Any questions, Trustee Luther?
I'm not sure who to ask this question to, so I'll start with asking our attorney. I'm trying to, my only main concern here is how, if I understand this properly, if we were to pass this ordinance, we're basically mandating that any business that has a fire alarm in Antioch has to use FSS, or I'm trying to piece together how the village, that we're responsible for this portion. Can I take a look at you? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And maybe Chief, you can explain, or maybe you guys can do this. In the other villages that you service, are you the sole provider, or are there other providers in there? Or would this be mandating this service to our businesses?
So, yes, in all the other municipalities, we are the sole provider. And why that is, we're building a network that we're managing. So once the radio is put in, we're managing it at no cost to the owners of the business. So they're paying their monthly fees, but if there's any issues, we allow everybody else to run the network. We can't guarantee the stability of the network. And we have a team that watches that network daily. Chief will be able to look at his phone and see what fire cameras are not communicating. And some of them, but he can see who's communicating and who's not. And I can go into a quick story. We were at lunch actually a month ago. We were sitting with the Round Lake Fire Chief and ex-fire chief and enrolled in the fire department. Nobody knew why. Sprinkler company was there to provide an inspection on their sprinkler system. Well, they had called it in because there was a pull station that had been pulled. Well, they weren't monitoring their system because they didn't want to pay their bill. So they had canceled their monitoring to eliminate the cost. Well, the fire department had no idea. So that pull station had actually been pulled 3 weeks ahead of time and nobody knew it. So if there was a fire, nobody would know.
Oh, really quick, so just if you recall, we're going to the new Lakecom dispatch center. Lakecom has agreed to only have one provider come in and tie their systems in. FSS was that fire, simply because the majority of the villages, districts, went that in this direction. And it was, you had to pick one, we all picked FSS to go with. Yeah, this is about, that call, that fire alarm control system going straight to these guys, and these guys pushing it through right to the console of the dispatch.
Just plain, yeah, no, it does, and I understand it. I'm just trying to grasp around. So, if we didn't pass an ordinance on this, would the businesses still be able to use their service, or would it?
Yes.
Okay. And they'd still be able to connect the Lakecom?
Right now, businesses can connect from any central station they choose. And that's a certified central station, which is an answering point for their fire alarm to go to. That then could sit there for minutes before they determine who they have to call and ship it to our dispatch center. In cases where you get the wrong dispatch center, this is that call transfer stuff we're talking about. Talked about with that Mr. J's fire. Last time I was here, that it bounced around the county where they landed where it has to be. People pay to have their businesses protected when they're not there. That's what the fire suppression and protection system does. So when we're not here, if this goes off, slightest bit of smoke or nuisance, if it's a sprinkler system, we get the head start. Otherwise, it's going to sit here, it's going to burn and burn and burn. So it gets so hot, it pops out. This is why, we mandated smoke detectors in homes. You have to have smoke detectors in homes. There's departments, villages that got sprinkler systems in residential homes, which, we're not even coming close to talking about. This is about protecting our businesses, downtown area. One of these things gets going and gets a head start, we're going to have a hard time. So that's the idea. Yes, you are mandating it. You're mandating it. Once you mandate it, you can follow suit and take it to the district level. For enforcement purposes, it's our life safety team, our inspector that's going to go through, working with the village, trying to enforce this, making sure everybody is up and running. We do that in communication with FSS. When they determine that a system's offline or it has a bad battery or they're simply not paying their bills, then we can go into that enforcement phase where we get the attorneys involved, just like we did with it's really no different than we did with the nuisance fees over here in the plaza.
Now, maybe you do know or don't know, how many current active fire alarm systems do we have that you monitor or that have monitoring currently in the building?
It's about 480.
And have you reached out to those businesses as of yet, letting them know about this FSS and
As Steve McDaniels, our fire inspector, has gone this year, we were able to hit every business, as I think I shared at our last meeting. He's briefing them for that.
any objections, or are they all pretty much on?
You know, you can't tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want to. I think it's gonna save them money. The whole system, when it comes down to the maintenance, you would ask the question about cost. We have an idea of what it costs. That we don't know where most of them hooked up to. I can tell you from the fire stations, and we paid about $60 a month, just for monitoring, for our fire stations. And that was with another fire. And then it was up to us to change that, make sure everything is up and running and service off. Common spaces. So department buildings have common, they're required to have a protection system in the common spaces or in the group or an alarm system. They have to have a individual unit. But in a hallway, they have to have.
We had some big buildings.
Yeah.
That would be mandated.
All the,
And you got Main Street, you got all these boxes.
that's our, they get a jump. You're gonna have. It's burned twice already, it's been taken down. The center of town twice already in its lifetime. So third time's the charm. I don't want that on the.
I saw Trustee Pierce and Trustee Martinez.
So there's no cost to the buildings, the cost is only to the property owner.
Right.
And it's a mandated cost to every business, or only every business that has an alarm.
Every business that has an alarm,
Are they required to have an alarm?
yes. If they have a business in here, they're required to have.
So it's mandated every business owner.
If they're registered.
If they're registered,
If they're registered with the village, which I know Howard's working diligently on,
but they're not registered right now.
they may not be. You may have a business open that nobody knows about.
So
And that's where, we talked years about occupancy permits. You don't have that in place. This is all part of your new staff. If you have going,
I get that part, Chief. The part I don't get is why you're here. That's what I don't get, because this is the village of Antioch, you're the first fire district, you have your requirements, your mandates, and your fees, everything you have, and you're wanting the village and our attorneys to put an umbrella over you and the fire department with a mandated cost of business, and then you can say, the village mandated this. I don't think that.
We too are mandated.
Then as the first fire district, which has your own authority and your own whatever, your district should be mandating this through your board, not through our board.
The attorney may be able to help you with this, but my attorney, your ordinances supersede ours.
It needs to procedure, but mandated. Not do it under our cover.
I apologize,
Catch up.
new here. I'm not saying that we have any ordinance. I'm checking with my colleagues if we have anything. I'm just saying.
Sean Flattery sent it to, Jimmy Vasily.
Yeah.
And they had a conversation about it, so.
I'll check with them and see. Actually,
And this doesn't have to be, this isn't gonna be decided. I get that. We know that's not gonna happen. Our goal, we certainly have more questions. We want to get the answers to those questions, so you can make an educated.
well, and from what I'm seeing too, is that this hasn't been noticed for tonight anyways.
No,
So,
it's
yeah, right, just a discussion. Right? Okay. Yeah. Let me check on it. I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Trustee Martinez.
Mayor, Chief, quick question. Well, more than anything, could you tell me if the statement is right? When a disaster happens, every second counts. And what we're talking about is streamline, right? We're gonna streamline the services, or access to service.
Any other questions for the chief?
Did we answer Trustee Pearson's question?
I think there's some legal. Yeah, I think there's some legal.
Okay.
All right, thanks for coming up here and sweating it out, literally. So I appreciate
They
it.
stood outside.
Yeah, okay.
All the time.
All right.
Thank you for moving us up again, and we'll continue the
All right,
conversation.
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, on to the presentation of the final design development package for the new public works facility. Williams is here to present. There's a PowerPoint added to the board packet today. For some of the, some of the trustees, just for reference, this is not the last time this will come to the board. This is their ask of us to move this to be able to put it out to bid. And anything we do tonight is essentially non-binding, other than saying you want to bid. All those bids would have to come back to us in a couple months, couple weeks, approving the actual numbers. So I'll turn it over to Director Heimbrodt, FQC, Williams. They're all here to answer questions and kind of see where they're at with the final presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, you kind of summed it up. Really, this is a milestone for the project since it started in 2022. In November 24, we were here with the schematic design completion, and this is the construction document completion. So between that time period, we were following the budget direction that we were given. They design changes. We were over budget. I'll let FTC and Williams get more into details on what changed and how the budget changed and how that's all reflected. We also have a list of alternates that we would like to bid with the complete bid package like we did for Village Hall, which allows us, if the numbers do come in low, then we can seek the alternates or what we feel is important to add to the project. So with that, I'll hand it over to Williams.
And then the citizens that have any questions, I'll make sure, I can ask you those questions and address those as well.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, everybody. Again, I met most of you previously, Mark Brody from Williams Architects. As Dennis mentioned, we were here in fall and we presented schematic design budget as well. FQC will join us in a moment. We completed design development a few months ago, and what we're completing as of last week, and with your approval tonight, we go out to bid for bids a week from tonight, the 18th. So with that, I'm going to just walk you through the presentation, kind of give you a reminder of the project. So if you click the next one. So overall on the site plan, nothing has changed. We tightened up the asphalt a little bit, but if you look at your screen there, you can see we've got a very simple shaped building, very simple shaped site. We originally had the project over closer to 173 there, and we moved it. I can't remember what at this point, but basically off the North Avenue there, we pushed it as far east as we could to get us far away from the residents to the west as possible. We basically developed the amount of site that you need to provide proper circulation around the building, salt operations, proper flow, but we didn't overdo it too well. So we actually, one of our last meetings, we took out 40 or 50 feet of asphalt at the south end and sort of tightened up the site. So you can see on the lower left corner, there are material storage bins. Those are one of the alternates Dennis referenced. So again, I know you've done this with Village Hall, but we'll open base bids and there'll be alternates, and depending on the bids come, then we folks on the board will be able to determine if any or all or none of the bids alternates are accepted. So lower right corner is the salt bin. In the middle is the fueling island that is also an alternate bid. If you come in off of North Avenue, you see a symmetry there. There's a nice entry drive aisle. At one point, we did have a sign out there, but in the cost savings, we replaced it with some LED backlit lighting on the building, so there's no standalone stone brick monument sign, but you'll be able to identify the building. Along the front, we have visitor ADA accessible parking. We've got landscaping along the front there. We've also got employee parking around there. And the south side, kind of little rectangles, you can see we've hidden all the mechanical equipment. So we will have items up on the roof, but nothing major you need to get in and work on. So there will be exhaust fans and things like that, but there won't be a big rooftop unit you need to go up and deal with in February in the Midwest. So everything they call ground mounted rooftop units. It's the same thing. It's just in the ground, it's in the back. So we've provided very nice front face along North Avenue, and then around the back it gets a little more utilitarian.
Question.
Yeah.
So would we save money if we had every village vehicle use an H, the fuel station, instead of going to the gas station, paying gas station profit? For police go there, fill up,
We have our own fuel station.
yeah, we have the fuel station page that would then pay for it, just on the savings from the gas station.
Dennis is working on an analysis to try to determine how many gallons a month we're using and what the cost savings would be. So as we come with the bids, we hope to have an answer for you.
Okay, next one, the floor plan, color coded, very simply. Basically, we've got the long garage, in the back, if you will, it's 80% building's garage, but basically it's the gray portion there. In the lower left corner, the southwest corner, we have the wash bay at the first corner and then the maintenance bays. Nothing's really changed to this overall conceptual design. The gray area, the darker gray area that you're seeing, that is a mezzanine, and that mezzanine is also an alternate bid. So everyone would love to have a mezzanine, but we're gonna get pricing separate, to achieve that. The three orange areas, the shops, they're all identical square footage, 3 square rooms. Nothing has really changed on that. The yellow area in the middle, that's like the locker and private individual shower, toilet facilities. And then the green area all along the front, by the main entry that protrudes out, so you can identify if that's all the administration area. So in the building, when you come in the green, the admin area is going to be drywall like this, wood doors, aluminum frame. When you get to the shop areas, more concrete block painted, more durable, and more utilitarian. Next slide. These are really hard to read, so we'll look at the 3D ones. But basically, the building is all precast concrete. We have a base bid where it's heated. We have an alternate bid where we have the intricately colored mix, and then it's a light sand blasted finish. So we did Montgomery's a few years ago, and for whatever reason, time was right. They were able to accept that alternate. It was hardly anything. We did North Aurora with FQC. It was a significant ad, so North Aurora is painting it. So again, we've drawn it, we specified it both ways, gives you folks the opportunity that they determine either is perfectly acceptable. The paint's gonna last 10 years or something, but if you do the interlude color, then you never will. So something for you guys to think about there. Yeah, so basically along the front, we have windows all at the garage. I know from where you're sitting, it's hard. The black area is basically a pattern used precast concrete, so it doesn't look like a warehouse. And then there's windows up high, but we didn't continue windows around, again, cost savings. So they're facing the north, bringing natural light. Same thing, all the offices, lunchroom, everything facing the front, so we get natural light in there. And then the side is a pitched roof. So at the front, the wall starts up at about 12 feet. There's a pitched roof that takes you up. And then around the garage in the back or the south side, it's up, I think, 22 feet, and it rises 30 or 32. And that's because we have a mezzanine, hopefully, in there. So again, so the form sort of follows function. So I think that the slope roof brings it down a little bit less wall, looks a little bit nicer, and also we're not building too much space for area that you don't need. So it's high where it needs to be. It's not as high where it doesn't need to be. Next one. Building sections, again, just a couple different cuts. So on the right side there, that's the section cut to say either the shop area or the administration area. And then you can see on the right side of the higher mass, that would be that potential mezzanine. And then the roof slopes left to right. Next. This probably tells the story a little bit better. Again, this has not really changed since we were here really in November. We pretty much hit the design. And we've just been working with Dennis and his team and FPC to make sure that we are tightening up wherever we can, lowering it wherever we can, decreasing asphalt to get it within the budget. So as you can see, precast building here, what you're seeing there is the lower portion. At one point we had stone on the building, and that was determined too costly. So we're gonna use form liner. So form liner is just what it says. You've seen the highway embankment things when you're going up to Milwaukee or whatever, and it looks like stone. It's just, you can get any pattern. So we're doing, I think these are alternate bits. You have to correct me on that. I think those are
the stone pattern is part of the base, and then the separate horizontal is an alternate.
So there's the base at about 3 feet at the window sill area, and then we have windows between the windows. Can't really see it here. It's kind of like a horizontal brick look. So some is base, some is alternate bit. But again, just taking the same precast panel. What we like about this building is it's very simple. The front wall and the back wall are all the same height, so we're making a bunch of the same precast panels. We designed this building from the get-go, knowing this precast on a 12-foot module, so they can build a bunch of the exact same things, which, you know, obviously is going to be more cost effective for everybody there. So dark, not black, but kind of a charcoal gray metallic for, you can see the entry area. We put the entry area in, you know, we looked at your design guidelines and some recommendations, and obviously we don't want this building to be ostentatious, but it does need to meet, you know, your guidelines for the village here. So there is a clearly identified entry that I think brings you in. And to the right, which I think the next slide to see it, if you want to click to the next one. Yeah, there you go. There's a separate employee entry. So the taller mass is clearly visitor or wherever, and then the employees. And this takes you in. The lunchroom's right to the left, the locker room's right to the right. So that's kind of their own separate area. And then you can see that Antioch Public Works, and it does say Village Up, it's just in the shadow. That is an aluminum sign, and that would have the backlit LED. So if you've ever seen that look, so at night you'll be able to read it, but it's not shining you in the face, it's lit like a halo effect, they call it. Next slide. This is from the northwest corner looking southeast. We have a patio there. At one point, we did have some seating walls, but again, with part of trying to keep with the budget, we took away the seating wall. So just a nice place for the staff to be able to go out on. It's a little warm today, but you know, a nice summer day. Have lunch, hang out there, have a little post maybe maybe open house, if you will, once the building opens up. So again, that area is exposed. You can see we have landscaping all along the front there, and we have a gate system that wraps the whole site. So during the day, you know, staff can get in, but visitors aren't going to be driving around the public works site. And we're using telescoping gates. Just the way we try to keep the site so tight, the gate's 30 feet long. We didn't want opening in front of the building, so they do make a telescoping one that stacks up with a 4x. So that's what you see on both sides. So there's one in there, there's one on the other side of the entry. Next slide. And then this is just kind of the back. This is southwest corner looking northeast. Again, those are the maintenance bays. That first bay there, that is the wash bay. So again, pretty straightforward there. And then sort of the aerial. So that's a bird's eye view from the northeast looking southwest. Membrane roofing system. It's all the same roof. It's all metal deck. It's either bar joist, beams, insulation, like a light gray membrane roof. Pretty standard commercial construction. Gutters, downspouts. So you don't have any interior roof drains. You know, I don't think you ever come here with a flat roof version. Maybe we talked about it way back when, but everything's going to drain off to the gutters and downspouts. Gutters going to run down the building into a cast iron drain boot, which is attached to the building to an underground. So there's nothing for splashing out onto the pavement, freeze up or anything like that. I'm going to pause and take questions, and then I think Mark from FPC might want to talk about the cost, but any questions on the design?
Questions at this point on the design? All right, thank you.
All right, Mark, you're up.
Hi, I'm Mark Winger with Frederick Quinn. Myself and Fred Verano, my counterpart here, have been helping out with the budget and the pre-construction process throughout here. So this is just kind of a brief summary of where we're at, the latest set of documents that were provided your approval this evening, ready to go out to bid with. And so to the far left, it's a little difficult to see the numbers here, but basically that's a compilation of the construction costs. So that's the hard costs for the building, the site itself, and then the management on the construction side of things. And then there's a contingency of 5% in there as well. So basically, number here. So so that total comes to the you can see it over there, the far right, a little better there, where it's 13,432,048 is what the construction cost is coming in at right now. Basically, we take the plans, we reach out to multiple trade contractors that are interested in bidding the work, and get real-time budgeting from them. You'll see the number over there that we presented previously back at the end of DD, and that's 13,571,000. So we've been able to basically be about $139,000 under there. And then the next item is kind of a compilation of overall project costs. So that's along with the construction costs, the cost for the design, the cost for lifts, equipment storage, racks, kind of the whole puzzle for the building. And you'd had a budget, I think it was established of just under 15 million five, and we're tracking right now about $10,000 underneath that. It's rather difficult to read there, the different alternates, but kind of as Mark alluded to, we're out there pricing these alternates or some other items here that we'll have for presentation to the board for your determination of whether or not you want to add scope, reduce a little bit of scope here. So those primary items, as Mark talked about, were that fuel island in the on the south side of the property, kind of in the center, the material storage bins. We have a couple different options we're pricing for that mezzanine within the north, kind of west side of the vehicle storage area, which in addition to the mezzanine includes elevator, steel stairs, that type of thing. Mark talked and touched on the liners with the precast. We're looking at separately getting pricing on the generator should we need to delay with the purchase of the generator, but we would still do the infrastructure. So those are kind of the different things related to the cost itself. In terms of the timeline for going out to bid, Mark touched on, we're going to get the final plan updates from them on the 18th. And then Tuesday the 24th is when we would formally go out to bid. We'll have a walkthrough here in Village Hall, and then you can go visit the site, and then the bids themselves are going to be due Thursday, July 17th. And following that, we'll conduct scope reviews, and we'll work on confirming those numbers, confirming the scope, and then getting a letter of recommendation to the village.
All right, questions to the board?
So Steve Basic. So this would be for Dennis' future costs, not for this building, but taking down the other building. I think that's got to be figured in the total cost too. Because that building's not going to stay.
Fire chief here.
Correct. One of the items that I've been basically contemplating is, depending on what is done with this building, like the mezzanine, it's not, we may have to keep some of those buildings for storage, not necessarily just for my stuff, but Village Hall stuff, park stuff. There's a lot of items that we store by us that we weren't aware of. So there may be buildings that we want to keep at that location. 2 individual trailers that are the offices. Yes, we'll have to look at demoing these, and that might be something that we can do. That's too much fun.
Thank you. Trustee McNeil.
That's kind of my question too for Dennis is how important is the mezzanine for your day-to-day operations and what you need? And it sounds like from Trustee Basics, it is important. Am I maybe hearing that right? Or like if we didn't vote on that bid, how would that impact?
It basically limits our ability to store anything, whether it's holiday decorations that we put up and then we take down, and where do those go? Whether it's seasonal equipment that we have, salt spreaders or storage of bags of salt, or all kinds of items that you wouldn't think of that we utilize, but at certain times of the years. And we don't want those down where the vehicles are, because then it's going to be taking up space. So if it's on a platform that's easily accessible, whether by forklift or an elevator, during that time of the year, to bring that stuff down or have it available for staff to grab and go through their tasks. Could be wheelbarrows, could be all kinds of files that Village Hall has that we're not going to be able to take to the new Village Hall. So the list goes on.
And then the Trustee Basic also, I think, asked about this, but are you going to give us some information about the cost savings of the fuel station if we end up selecting that alternative?
Yeah, so what I've started gathering is basically the information that pertains to how we fuel now, which is through a credit card and at the station. So I'll see how much I can backtrack information and do it by year or maybe by 6-month periods. The difficult thing that it's going to be is what we pay for fuel then, but what I could have bought it for contracted back a year or two ago. But at least I'll be able to identify what it costs to the owners and compare it to currently right now, and if I was to contract through fuel provider.
So, Director, by chance, how is your facilities occupied now? And during the course of a 8-hour day, how many people are in the building during the course of an 8-hour day?
Building, the water department is typically in and out, especially the supervisor, whether he's coming in and doing paperwork related to the wells. There's an administrative assistant that is there all day, which would be near the visitor's entrance to greet the individuals that come in to ask questions, file a complaint, or attend the meeting. Myself is generally the majority of my time is spent in office nowadays. The building department supervisor is in and out, utilizing an office to document complete work orders, organize work for others, or future projects, or things that is completed. And then there will be a street supervisor and the GIS individual who will be moving with us, hopefully. Ross, he most likely is in his office all day long unless there's field work that is designated.
So then you would say that the majority of the employees under public works are out in the field.
Yes.
And you would say, at least from my perspective, from being out in the construction realm, I would live in and out of my truck most of my days. So you'd say, for the most part, employees are at the site in their truck during the course of their shift.
Correct. Yeah, they'll come back for lunch. They may visit back at the shop if they're in between tasks to gather different tools, get different direction as to what that new task is. But yes, the majority of the time they're out field doing what they do.
And then the other element on why we're going forward with something like this is just the degradation of the building, or is there an EPA mandate that we have to move? Again, I'm new to the board, so there's a lot of details I want to work.
Sure. So the existing building that basically we consider the shop and the office space, the visitor's entrance, is a double wide trailer, 2 of them that were put together in the late 70s. That was attached to a old metal frame building that is our mechanic shop, 2-bay mechanic shop. One lift for mainly light duty vehicles, and we have roller lifts for heavy duty vehicles that are on an uneven concrete floor. Very dangerous for staff. Actually, I try not to allow them to utilize them just due to the risk. The other buildings that exist were relatively of the same age. I would say the early 80s. The one truck barn that we use that is located on the other side of the creek, which divides us between the treatment plant and the main office. Our salt barn is located basically directly away from the creek. The EPA has mentioned to us that eventually they're going to mandate that we move that. And then we have a metal building that was redone due to a windstorm. I think it was around 2013, maybe. Windstorm basically blew all the metal sheeting off of the pole barn where we park trucks.
So then we would be in agreement that this is also trying to avert some sort of liability going forward for the village.
Absolutely. We haven't had anybody come in and test anything to see if there's a hazardous environment to the employees, but I would say there's a likely chance that there's very poor air quality within at least the office.
Thank you, Derek.
Pierce?
Are the raccoons that live underneath your building gonna be upset if you guys do that? I tend to agree that Fuel Island, they do a good cost savings thought process, based on their analysis. A local gas station won't be happy, they'll be asking for other ways to earn money, to recoup their costs or their costs. So that's something to be aware of. The mezzanine, I question the mezzanine in the elevator because we've been watching another building in town. The high cost part was the elevator. If you're building an elevator, picking up that heavy forklift, moving stuff, and moving bags and pallets and stuff up there. I have a question. It'd be a better cost savings than ancillary storage buildings beside somewhere that save money on the elevator as they can go easier and more efficient by having like big storage bays out on a separate building. They can also have barrier to sell going to the focus on specimen all the time. Every in the campus has a mezzanine. And trying to think what would be a more cost effective way to provide you the storage and you put say the blades up to the mezzanine. That being a hazard right off the bat. So I question the mezzanine part. I have to think of it.
I appreciate that. And there is Dennis, you know, I mentioned, when the meeting FQC, maybe something that they've, because the elevator is the cost part of it. So
I believe Mark, with FQC kind of mentioned that, but not in detail. We are looking at other options that aren't what we originally thought about, which basically the mezzanine would be a concrete floor that is above where the vehicles are parked. The elevator is required. That we can't get around. The state's requiring us ADA, not necessarily to move certain pieces of equipment, just individuals. If you had an individual that could not take the stairs and they had to go to the mezzanine, that is required. So we are looking at some other alternates, and hopefully we'll have that information.
And then it goes around high of the forward.
That's correct. The elevator is simply a passenger elevator, large enough to hold a stretcher, but not a freight elevator itself. There, the loading would be from the front side of the mezzanine, basically the ability to open up the railing at that point and put some from a forklift or a pallet directly on. Not doing it.
You know, it's kind of late in the game. That would be right. That happens. 2 years from now. Just done something better.
any other trustee questions before I get some clarification? Yeah, go ahead, trustee Pierce.
When you do the cost analysis for the gas, it might be prudent to do a whole year. Because during the winter, you've got all those trucks and they're plowing and they're out, they're doing water main breaks. And I would think that, I don't know this, but I would think that you might use more gas in the winter than you're gonna this time of year.
You're absolutely correct. I don't want to look at the past 2 years because it really wasn't that normal winter. So I'm going to try and go back a few years to where I can better gauge what that diesel usage was during
Like 2013.
Yeah. So, and then I will be taking into consideration the police fleet and their usage, along with other village vehicles. It's only right that that's access to all, so it's one savings over the entire village.
Where's the fire department? Yeah, so same way we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about Fuel Island that they have. Station, so it is a gas station.
Why don't we have real quick let the individual that signed up ask their questions so maybe they could be addressed. I know there was one about the drainage and the water on I'm sure the west side of the property. So Mr. Walsh, you want to ask the director your question?
I can touch base on it a little bit. So maybe to answer his question or even further, ask in regards to it. So the building was on the screen that basically showed the frontage of North Avenue. And Nelson Road would basically be directly to the north of the entrance to our building. So to the west is proposed a stormwater detention basin, which will be calculated out. Erickson Engineering is the engineer that's designing the site, the utilities, the stormwater basin. The stormwater basin will be sized appropriately for the amount of impervious surface that we have. And maybe a little bit extra because we did downsize the footprint of basically impervious and the building. That will go through basically a restriction plate that is required for Lake County stormwater management ordinance. So it'll meet all the criteria that any development that was built right now would have to follow. So that release rate towards the south, which would be Windmill Creek, would be a lower flow than what you're experiencing right now. We have also looked at the overflow of the basin, which all basins are required to have for like a 100-year event. If it was to clog up, it would have to release. Deterring that water via hopefully a swale or a berm, directing it towards the east. So it would not impact those homes, even though they're, I think, roughly 700 feet away from the back of our property line to.
Go ahead.
So we would divert that overflow if it were to ever happen to get it to the east, which would then wrap around to the other village property that is connected in that cul-de-sac there.
Dennis, we have a detention pond on our site now.
Correct.
Okay, that would stay there, correct?
Yes.
So you're saying your overflow, would that do anything? Because I'll tell you, those homes, we have 17 homes that would be affected by this property. Okay, and in that case, the overflow we have now, when we have a bad storm, we have Niagara Falls in some of those backyards right now. And we have 2 French drains back there. What, coming off of that land, what's that gonna do to us?
And well, that's part of designing that stormwater basin is we're going to collect our stormwater, put it into that basin and release it at a rate that is much less than what you're experiencing. You're basically experiencing over the flow of a massive amount of acreage directed towards a piece of property that goes in between 2 homes. I'm very familiar. Was a mayor and
I know you've been back there many times.
Yeah.
But is there a creek up there that we don't know about?
No.
There's no running water.
It's really just the lay of the land and how the water collects and is pinpointed right to that one area.
Weren't there old farm piles in there at one point? We tried to cap those off.
Not that I'm aware of. There is some pipes that were put in. What happened is they altered some of the land to collect that and then put it into a set of pipes that would bring it down.
Because we've got a couple pipes coming off of the Bittner property that come directly. They're up on high on that berm area.
Yeah.
Those would stay.
I would hope that maybe we could improve it.
I
don't know that we would remove them. They were put there. Basically, those were a real small detention basin. If you go up of those pipes, there's a dugout area. It's where that water collects into, and then those pipes release closer to that swale that is in between the 2 homes.
Right.
Trying to avoid that waterfall effect coming down the hill into the back of some of those homes, which happened years ago.
Well, there's 6 homes that get affected now. I have photos to prove it. That right now that runoff is coming directly into those backyards. And until it hits that swell between those 2 homes, that water is stagnant there until it runs off. And as far as our detention is, we go into the next pond, which is now Windmill Creek's outlet. Okay, and then that travels through Antioch. But it's very disheartening to realize that we're not saying no to the project. We're saying we have to protect our homes. We have 17 homes there that need to be protected somehow.
Absolutely. No, we don't want to be your neighbor and create any type of worse situation that you're experiencing. If we can improve it within our project, if it's simple grading, I will basically go back to Erickson Engineering. I know we've discussed it in previous meetings, and I will reiterate to them the importance of the drainage, that we need to improve it, because we're basically going to be constructing on that site. There is a large piece of the property that we're not touching, that wooded area, basically from our west property line over to almost a silo. A lot of that is not being touched. The detention basin is going, as I stated earlier, west of the building. So it'll be the woods, the detention basin, and then the building.
Isn't there another outlet though? You have a cyclone fence off of North Avenue, a little, I don't know how far it goes into your property. Okay. Very, very basic fence, but there is a gully there between our property and your property. Is that another piping that's there that's flowing that water into that little gully? Because there's water there a lot of times.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
During the presentation tonight, I did not see anywhere where they were talking about a detention basin. Yeah. Probably the only place they could put it, if you take the building, was run off from the roof, you take all the paved area that you've got around there to get to your storage piles and your fuel island and your salt bin, that's all covered with hard surface, and that's all runoff. Give you the contour map there, the basic runoff, I think. The basic end of that runoff now is from the northeast corner, either south or southwest. And so the detention pond, in my way of thinking, would have to be towards the southern boundary of the property. I was glad to have your statement that you are going to take care of the runoff and put it at a lower rate.
There's a picture of the detention pond. I'm sorry, Stuart. There's a picture in 222. Go to the sorry.
In the past.
In the packet. Oh, in the packet. Sorry, it's in the packet.
Would there be any landscaping or berms anywhere on the property?
Yes, we intend to. There's going to be excess dirt, which we will create berms. The landscaping will be very minimal as we try and focus the amount of money currently on the facility itself and constructing what we can. The landscaping, I hope to phase over years. The landscaping plan is very extensive, following our ordinance. So I'm hoping to do that as a phase project after the building is.
So where are you planning to put in the berms now, south or west?
I would have to look back at the, I don't want to miss the their exact locations.
If you put it west, you're going to cover up trees.
Yeah, no, we don't want to disturb any of that foliage, those trees that are along the west property. The detention basin was specifically picked by Erickson Engineering, a civil engineer company. They surveyed the complete property, shot the topo, and they're the ones who decided on the place.
Okay.
Everything is completely designed. You're seeing sort of abbreviated PowerPoint. Yeah. There's 150 sheet set of drawings that everything. So the detention pond is to the west of the building. Most of the berming is along the north, along what's that, North Avenue and the east side. Yeah. Landscaping. So everything is been addressed, and we're not going to do anything that's going to affect any of the neighboring property.
So the detention pond that you're putting in, it will be before the six acres of lots that you said will not be touched. Is that what you're saying?
It'll be directly adjacent. So if you look at the building here, it is going to be directly to the left of it.
Because back in February, I sent you an email and you sent me back. It was a nice exchange. You said there's 12 acres you're utilizing. 6 of those acres will not be touched. So from those 6 acres.
We took a big rectangle and put your site in the northeast corner to get as far away from the houses as possible. And that's what you're seeing there. So what that showing, it's not showing the rest of the site. The site is much larger than that. That's just your like paved area.
Right.
But
that goes
yeah.
up to about where the trees start.
Roughly.
I have the trees plotted on a map, I can show you.
We've got a whole set of, I mean.
Total.
Yeah.
I would be,
yeah.
I'd be happy to sit down with you and show you, you know, an engineer.
Couple other things. The property was originally purchased with park funds, correct? $425,000.
That is correct.
Will that money get somehow diverted back to the park so they can do their thing with more money?
Well, I don't, we don't sit in our, I can have finance talk about this too. I mean, we have a park fund, we have a park budget every year, but all that comes out of our general fund. We don't have like a separate account that's just parks, if that makes sense. We don't have like we have a budget for parks, we have a separate, everything comes through our general fund. So however that was allocated back in the day, maybe our senior trustee Pierce can recall how that was. Parks.
And I'd like to comment too then about, I would not like to see the fuel island there because 10 years from now, it's gonna leak, there's gonna be, you know, from multiple uses of it, you know, there's gonna be gas spilled and all this stuff, and it's just, I don't back up to the south line, but I'm across the street, so it will, you know, affect what I smell, so.
It's an above ground double wall tank. It's not an underground storage tank like from many years ago. I mean, it's a.
And we would be required to follow state inspections and the IUPA visits our site without any type of complaint. It's mandatory with the permit that Lori mentioned earlier, that the IUPA comes to our site inspects where we store things, how we store things.
Well, then the village for putting it as far east as you could on top, because I think that will help.
And as far as parks go, I mean, we've had discussions, you know, maybe that area between the two becomes a neighborhood park, you know, to keep that someday.
You mentioned that there would be the fence going surrounding the property. Is that gonna include the 6 acres that you don't use?
No, the fence is really just enclosing the building and the pavement. The entire property is not, it's just the facility itself.
Well, hopefully your motley fence will be replaced with it. That's from North Avenue, that's beside the point. Generator, you mentioned generator. How many generators could you have?
Cool.
How noisy will it be?
I would have to look up the brand and the decibel readings for that specific brand. It would only be on during power outages, would not run.
Never to run during the day for something.
No.
No.
It's a emergency.
That's it, just an
It would be a
emergency.
weekly or monthly test. But
Yeah, I think it's in the application.
and it would simply be used for emergency purposes, so we could open our doors and go respond to trees down to the residents.
Is there gonna be a stop sign or a signal sign at the entrance
Not that I know. That for us to leave.
for you to get onto to get onto North Avenue? A stop sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
My employees first stop.
No, I mean, you will have a stop sign. North Avenue.
No, no. Yeah, North Avenue will remain like it is with our access. We don't have control over North Avenue, that's like on DOT.
Well, that's what I thought. Maybe they did a study to show that traffic is so immense right there that a truck coming out with a plow is first going into gear. He's not running it. So how fast can he get out of that area before he gets onto North Avenue?
It would be similar to something.
Oh, yeah.
All right, any follow-up questions from the trustees related to any of this? And then Dennis, like I said, this is, to go to bid. Okay, so I'm assuming that the board approves going to bid, and then any approvals, there's gonna be a bigger hearing to go through the whole big bid packet as well. And I'm sure that Dennis, can share with any of the concerned residents, the whole topographical layout, larger plan of the property. All right, well, we'll move this to the bid process, and thank you for coming and sharing those concerns with the board and with the design and building team. All right, next is item number 3 is discussion regarding a proposed policy related to credit card fees. This is in your packet. As you know, we just went through the budget, and as the world has turned and the world has changed, people were, I think at the time when I was here, there was some waiver of credit card fees during the pandemic. But now that number is a significant number. Yeah. All right. Sorry, this is if you want to use one of those side rooms, you can. If you want to discuss something, that's fine. So the credit card fees, the village has been, for lack of a better term, eating those fees for several years. They do add up to at least one department, at least 45,000 in one department, and probably close to maybe even 6 figures. So we're looking for the board's direction if we, charge a 3% credit card fee, because it's a significant cost to the village. Any discussion about this, or thumbs up, thumbs down? Start on this side over here. Trustee Mason, do you have anything?
Hey, you can have a credit card fee that's cheaper for debit. I don't know when if a debit's the same fee.
I don't know.
ACH.
Michael, do you know that?
Oh, yes.
I think debit's cheaper on an ACH transaction.
Okay. Where is the? Yeah, we should look at that. What is the rate that we were saying that is it 3%? Michael?
So yeah, I didn't look at rate. I just took the dollars that I saw fees were being paid out, and that's why I came up with the 45,000. You thought maybe I missed a few because there isn't a specific line item that says these are the fees. So I had the details, and I was trying to build out details to the budget, and that's why I had read certain numbers from within line items, and that's why I came up with 45. So I haven't gone back to recalculate that. While I was gone, you sent an email out, and now today, Kate's the number. You went 2%. Was that an example? Was that somebody's
That's an example from this. Yeah, that's an example.
So there's actually 2 charges. One is the 2% was fee that you're talking about. Maybe the village no longer absorbs or passes that on to the card holder. But there's an additional fee which you identified as.
I think it's 3%.
No, the second fee that they said we would still it was a lot smaller number. It was like 2% of the 2%.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Sorry. So our recreation registration software charges works with Forte, and so when we run a credit card payment or someone registers online, that payment goes through, and whether we add on a service fee or not, it's going to spend, let's say it's $100, and they'll take whatever their service fee is. Example, 3%. I don't know what it is. If we were to pass that service fee on to the customer, then it would say be $103 that would be sent to the credit card processor, and we would get charged whatever their percent is off $103, making it not a complete recovery of cost, but a very, very close recovery of cost, if that makes sense.
So at $2, it was 4 cents to us, and it was $3, it was 6 cents to
Yes.
us, so you have to add it into the fee.
So what you're saying is that the software package we use for Parks and Rec already charges a fee,
that they get charged.
Yes.
And then they have another fee on top of that fee.
No,
No,
we pay
We're-
all of the fees.
we're eating them all. So if they pay $100, we get $97, or we get charged. Yeah, so we're.
Yeah.
Correct.
So there's no fee to the user right now. We pay all the fees, the cost of doing business.
So are you saying we're gonna pass that fee on plus charge the
No.
credit card fee?
No.
Because the software charges a fee for processing.
Yeah, that's what we pay for. We pay to license and use the software, right? We also have to use a third company. So there's us, we're an organization, there's the civic rec people, and then there's the credit card processing people. And all of us are working together. And we are paying right now to have the recreation management software and the credit card processing people. So what we would like to do is say, we're gonna pay for this, and then this credit card processing fee, we're gonna pass on to our user, which is being done most places that you visit when you pay with a card now. So that would not completely eliminate our fees that we are paying, but it would reduce it by about 98%.
Okay, so, and then back to the question about the debit card, which has maybe a third and a different fee.
It doesn't, but sorry, I'm a visual learner.
That's okay, I'm visual too, so I get it. You know, so I think what we've got before, maybe we walked down a little bit more, what debits are being charged, what credits being charged, because there's like, I see 5% of the transaction involves a certain amount of money, or 3% of the transaction involves a certain amount of money. I think we need to make it a little bit more understandable. Plus, we need to offer a cash option.
Well, we do. We absolutely, we accept credit, cash, check, you know, you can come in and give me your money. However, the debit and the credit is the same system. So it doesn't matter, we don't have an ability for folks to put in their PIN, right? So it always is run as credit. So that's how the system is set up. So whether you're using your debit card or a credit card that is a debit card, it's all run as credit and within our system.
Trustee Peters?
When I use my credit card, I always get that service fee charged to me, no matter where I am.
Right, like at a restaurant or yeah.
It doesn't matter, clothing store, there is always that fee coming back. People are used to seeing that. It's the price we pay for using a credit card. But I don't see why the village shouldn't recoup that, just like everyone else does. We're talking about taxpayer money here. So I think that we should actually recoup that.
Katie,
My opinion.
and staff and board, you know, when I read the ordinance, and there may be a state statute reason why, but I found the calculation to be overly complicated. I would be like, we just charge, 3% on every transaction, or 3.5%, whatever the average. There's something in here about, $20 or 5% or 3%. So that seemed very convoluted to me. I would just be like, our standard is we charge 3% on every transaction.
Most of them are 4%.
What I would like to do is track down the agreement we have with Civic Rec and Forte to find out what that fee is that we are paying, and then simply change where that's how we're recouping that.
There's support from the board with some tweaking of that calculation to move this forward to charge the, not eat those fees, because they're significant. It's a public works salary for the year, so.
Right. Yes.
All right, I think we'll move this on. Thank you. Next item is continued discussion regarding ordinance amending sections 4-2B-6 and 4-14-4 of the Antioch Village Code regarding licensees selling products containing whatever you say. Yeah, tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. All right. So again, thank you, Adam, for being patient. I know last meeting you got stuck behind the budget meeting. So there's been, historically, this came to us first when we noticed that there was a couple stores in town that was selling items that looked exactly like marijuana. The stores smelled exactly like marijuana. It had vape pens and edibles and all this stuff. And as the world turns, then new products come out, but in a different format, different, ways they're being sold and under different, different states and different businesses. So it was brought to our attention that, things have changed. So if we look at our current ordinance, and I know that Antioch Liquors has been the very nice, outstanding citizens and said, "Hey, we're want to sell this. We're selling it. What can we do?" I've been to every other store in town, and I think they're all probably selling it too, but haven't been as forthcoming about as far as gas stations and convenience stores about them wanting to. And I've been contacted by residents, workers, distributors asking about this. So I just want to bring this back to the board to see if we leave things as is, if there's an amendment to be had. This is just again for discussion. So I'd like to hopefully give Mr. Kosh, his business, and other businesses some direction as far as where the board is and how this is interpreted. Trustee Peterson.
I have a question for Chief Gutschall. Now, when we discussed this before, you said that the state of Illinois didn't have an age limit on this.
Correct. One of the challenges is that it's not specifically regulated by age. Certainly, businesses that are responsible are going to only allow these to be sold to individuals that are 21 and over. We recently did compliance checks in relation to this department, and Mr. Kosh's business was compliant, right? We had an underage individual go and look at these products, and he did what he was supposed to do and said, "Sorry, 21 and over" type things. But one of the concerns is that yes, these are not regulated by age like alcohol would be. I'd like to think all of our businesses would be responsible as Mr. Kosh's, but again, as recently as last week to deal with some of these problems. Passed this around the board. We just encountered a business that was marketing the flower form of the Delta 9 their business. So again, not adhering to packaging regulations at the state level require them to show the content of the THC within the product manufacturing or the product, these type of things, right? They're buying bulk, putting it in little plastic bags, selling it at a significantly high product additional fee. So again, if we had uniformity amongst the marketing of this within the village by our businesses, I think that would help. And again, it's no fault of Mr. Kosh at all too, but again, just looking at the type of products that are being marketed, again, like we see with some of the vape marketing, right? The products are marketed with colorful and a cartoonish looking labels on them. So again, it's just the concern is always with kids, right? Who's to be sold, and I fully acknowledge the fact that they can go anywhere and buy these products, but really what it comes down to is a matter of a policy decision by the board of what we want sold in the community as a whole, what we don't, right?
Well, I personally asked a lot of the parents. I had an opportunity because of the whole Camp Grand debacle. I was at that table quite a few days and sitting with parents, and I asked them. There wasn't one parent there that wanted this, not one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't get the state to step in and legislate some of these. Again, in the most recent session, could be in the assembly, the bill to move forward, right? So it's introduced in committee, but it dies in committee and is able to move forward. So it just doesn't seem to be a lot of interest at the state level right now in moving this legislation forward. I think really ultimately in the long term, that's going to be the key solution is for the state to step in and give some guidance in the form of regulation of age requirements, and specifically kind of honing down on content and what THC levels they can have, all these other kind of things that just don't currently exist within the market.
Right. So I can't see changing our ordinance. I just can't see doing it at this point. I think the fight is down in Springfield, not here.
So
different if you could say, yes, this is really a ban, but really it's not a ban. It's only a ban on certain entities being allowed to sell. So you can walk right across the border, to a gas station right in Wisconsin, and buy all. And I'm not referring to, I don't know what the picture for, I'm only referring to TAC drink because that's really all that I'm interested in. I have no interest in selling things in baggies or whatever these items are. Just the THC drinks. And this, another background is that this just happened yesterday. I had the representative for Illinois from Miller Ford in the store, and they're getting it. Everybody is getting good. I don't think she disagrees with me that it's all likelihood, very likely, that the state, when they do regulate it, they're not going to ban it. They will limit it to 21 and over. And I don't see why under your ordinance, because you're regulating the tobacco and liquor licenses, you can't say within that ordinance that we agree to sell it to only 21 and over, because you have the authority to regulate those entities. I understand that, so-called balloon store or pet store, whoever else wants to sell it, you don't have the authority to regulate them, and they can sell it whatever it is they want. But that's the case now anyway. So even your ordinance doesn't really change who's able to buy it and have it within the community, because anyone can bring it into the community. You could go right across the border with the community and bring it. You could have it delivered to the community. Question. Oh, I thought there was maybe the first one met once. That's not a good question. I just wanted to say that, some of the things that are brought up, last time, the time before, is that some of the drinks may look like, I think I said they look like soda, but I think they really look more like the seltzers that have alcohol in them anyway, and so the kids should be drinking those. In addition, there are dispensaries in town, and I don't know if everyone's on board, but many of the people, whoever was on board, I think voted. Scott did not vote for it, but I think everyone else did who was here. And the dispensaries have things that look like a chocolate bar. That's a very delicious looking peanut butter cookie. These are gummies, peach, nice and big. And this is off of Consume's website. Another, this is a strawberry, strawberry and cream dessert of some kind. Mints, chocolate chip cookies, which I really like. Not these kind. This is a ginger ale, which looks just like ginger ale. Snickerdoodles. I also like snickerdoodles a lot. And this is lemonade. It says tropical lemonade. And of course, there's brownies to be baked at home. I would say that these are way more dangerous to kids than what we have here. And those are available. I just don't see the difference, especially if we're limiting. And she said the person who was in the store was not just told that they couldn't buy those items, they were told they couldn't buy any item in the store and asked. Trustee Pierce?
First of all, I appreciate all your emails. They've been very, very genuinely, very kind, very well written, very informative, very helpful. I also wish every business owner in my property is given integrity, honesty, and fairness and concern for the children in this community. There are very few that don't, but those few impact the rest. You bring up consuming the cannabis. Yes, I voted against it. If it hadn't been such a broad bill, I probably would have voted yes. So what we passed to me was overly broad and overly bringing too much of the community at once. So I voted no for it. And you may ask, well, what about these products, these nice products over there? It's the item there, just like in your store, but the purchaser has to be certain. They have to pass the ID, and if age, and they can buy them, then they take them home, if their kids get hold of them, and then we'll be to them, the kids have an emergency call and the police get involved, because they negligent care of their kids. With wholesale selling of these in the village, to me, is not a good item, because there is no control at this moment whether a kid gets a product or can buy a product or not. If they want to, if we opened it up, and if we opened up your choice of what you sold, and the choice system we're using right now, which is not a ban, it's a choice, we would have no control over that, because honorable businesses like yours would say, 21, get out of here. Young honorable businesses we have would be like, I mean, you want my kid, we'll sell them to you.
That's why one of the things I proposed was that you change the ordinance, which is regulating things that you're able to regulate, like liquor stores and tobacco stores. And you say that they agree that they will only sell the item to people over 21 years of age.
We don't have, my understanding is, because we are in a home rule community, we don't have that legal authority to set that age limit. I could be wrong. Communication.
I believe you
make
do.
a choice.
I believe you do within the confines of regulating liquor stores and tobacco stores.
We, as a, basically, the state has preempted the regulation of THC through the Cannabis Act, and it applies, it's 21 and over, according to the state. So we don't have the authority to go below 21.
He's not asking for us. He's asking for us to make them available to say they can sell any of the THC products, Delta 9, Delta 12, Delta Gamma, Delta whatever the place of the day is.
Personally, I only care about Delta 9. So,
but yeah, I mean, so under the state Cannabis Act, basically, it's THC is broadly defined. And I mean, it doesn't go to the definition of cannabis means marijuana, hashish, et cetera, et cetera. Any salt derivative mixture or preparation of the plant, seeds, or resin, including tetrahydrocannabinol and all other naturally produced cannabis derivatives. It doesn't specify and break it down the various. I apologize, I don't know the various things like that, but it basically requires, you know, this is a state regulation. It's a non-home rule entity. We're not able to change what the state is requiring.
my understanding is that you're able to regulate. The reason we're able to put this in is because the state gives you the authority to regulate liquor and tobacco. And just like you put this ordinance in to regulate as a regulation on liquor and tobacco, you could also regulate it to the same extent by putting in a 21 and over contingency.
As far as, I mean, I'm looking specifically at the Cannabis Act, it is Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. We are preempted by state law.
Well, if you're saying that it's already 21 and over,
is it already saying
it's already 21?
Right. All right. So if it's already 21 and over, then why is in these stores that are not that are selling it to minors should be cited?
Because they're non-THC items.
They are THC items.
So this is talking about natural cannabis items. Some of the stuff, the new stuff, the Delta 9 is a natural cannabis derivative. The Kratom and the Delta 8 are synthetic items, and that's the stuff that was being sold to kids.
This also stems and circulates around the very mechanism that allows businesses that the U.S. Farm Bill specifically exempts hemp-derived THC products as long as they contain less than 0.3% of regulated. Regulated completely differently. That's why there's no tax. Regular cannabis.
Did this become a? Has this become a thing when the CBD stuff was big? Is that how this first came to be under the Farm Bill? Okay, like when that was just.
So from back to that, I would just say again that you're able to regulate tobacco and liquor, and that's what you've done here. There's no reason that you wouldn't be able to put in a 21 over contingency within that. I'm not saying a 21 over contingency for everybody. You can't do it for the balloon store that wants to sell it. I understand that. I don't really want to be the balloon store that wants to sell it, but I just don't see why that could be. Another thing that I propose is that if there was some concern over other locations having these issues, that you
have a requirement that it only be sold 80 feet from the front, 80 feet from the entrance. I don't think those little stores won't be able to put the product 80 feet from the entrance. We can.
Questions?
Yeah, can I put my 2 cents in?
Yes,
So here's the biggest problem. You've got a parent that wants to sue. Dram shop that typically won't cover a THC product. So you gotta go out and get special insurance. Most businesses, and you look at the dram shop, they do exclude derivatives of that product in their policy language. So if you got a parent that wants to sue whoever sold it to them, they whatever, OD or whatever, there's no money from insurance policy because that's going to be excluded. Second, the marijuana and the edibles are a different subject, but this is no, you can't tell how much was used, and if someone gets killed by it, where's the family's liability to recover some kid getting killed in a car because someone drank a couple 2-3 and all of a sudden it hit them and they have tunnel vision when they're driving. So you got the insurance issue that typically a dram shop policy will not cover a THC derivative. You have to buy a special insurance policy for it. And yeah, we got people violating this, should be fine. If I could just address that, I did have a conversation months ago with our insurance carrier. They said we were covered, but we're already required to provide you evidence of our insurance. You certainly could request as a part of the licensing structure that you have an insurance policy that specifically says that the business owners are covered for THC. If they don't have that, don't sell it. They can't sell it on.
Trustee Luther?
I've been trying to look more and more into this as these issues come up more and more. I mean, the hardest problem I'm having with this is you can get this stuff everywhere. Literally everywhere. It's online. It's like you go on X, it's ads pop up constantly for Cheech and Chong's, whatever, and this and that. Everywhere you go, you see this stuff. I don't know if we're just punishing our businesses in town by preventing the sale of this right now, or if we're doing something good. It's a real tough call for me because I think we're trying to do something good that sounds good and everything else, but I just don't think that we're succeeding in it. I don't think that what we're passing is going to do anything when you can buy it everywhere. And until the state gets off their butt and actually does something on this, I don't know. The result is going to be if someone wants this stuff, they can get it. They can get it anywhere. It's not illegal per the state. It's not controlled by the state or the federal government at all. I don't know how we can supersede that at this point. I originally supported this, and I was under the impression that the state was going to be jumping on this. I don't know if they're going to at this point. I don't know if the police can tell us whether or not we've had issues with kids with these particular items, or if you're having any problems with this with the underage or not. And being that they can buy them 10 feet out of our borders everywhere, I don't know how we control that. And even if you stopped a kid that was 18, could you do anything to him over this product?
With the Delta 9, no. It's legal for them to possess it just as it's legal for them to purchase it currently.
And there's no age restriction in the state for buying this Delta 9 anywhere, correct? So a 15-year-old can go to a gas station and buy this?
You would certainly hope that the proprietor would not allow that to happen, but technically, yes, there's no age limit controls in place. Outside of like the liquor tobacco, right? So currently, we regulate liquor and tobacco licensed entities, right, which generally have age restrictions for entry without parents. Because they're selling those type of products. To address the broader point that was brought up again, Attorney Maselli about the legalities of whether we do or do not have the ability to incorporate a broader restriction of the community to level the playing field, so to speak, so that, you know, we're not unduly legislating our liquor and tobacco licenses as compared to something that wanted to open up a shop downtown specifically allocated to selling these type of products and turning the selling to yes, as part of our future business license requirement. Much like the privilege to hold liquor license, we can regulate it through the privilege to hold business license to say we don't allow that. But again, you know, I fully recognize your concerns and Adam's point that these products can be purchased outside of our town and brought in, again, because of the lack of age restrictions. You know, I suspect that's how they're able to DoorDash them or have them delivered.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, because like we went to Sequoia Creek Park right now, and there were 10 kids sitting there from 12 to 16 drinking these things. You couldn't do a single thing to them, correct?
It's kind of a double-edged sword answer. So specifically for the possession of the drink, no. Being under the influence of public, yes.
Oh well. That I think we need to this needs to be something that we look at from a legal standpoint and see what we actually can do without punishing businesses like yours and not allowing them to sell it when we know that they're going to do it the right way. They can't, so they're losing money, they're losing dollars, and these people that want it, our kids or anyone, are going to go. You can order it online. I don't know if Amazon has it yet, but I'm sure there's a million ways to get this stuff very quickly within 5 minutes of where we're sitting right now. So I think it's worth looking into to see if there's something we can do to do an age restriction, that we can expand this to every business. So it's not just hitting these guys, that we don't allow it in some stores and not others. So I'm open to looking at this and because I think we even said it when we passed it, we're going to have to amend this and change it on a regular basis. So I'm all for trying to protect the kids, but the state needs to get off their butt. I think we need to lobby the state for this, but I think we need to look at it from a legal standpoint of what we can actually do and what makes sense and what makes a difference. I don't want to just pass an ordinance to pass it if we're not having, you know, interactions from the police saying that this is working and we're stopping the kids having it or anything else. Or I know we want to be ahead of the curve, not at the tail end of it, but I think we need to look at this again from a very legal standpoint and really dive into it to see if there's a way that we can fine tune our ordinance to not hurt existing businesses, but also kind of control it and try to keep it to a 21 and older or 18 and older, whatever we can do legally.
And if I could just respond to that real quick. So just for full, so the board enters into these discussions eyes wide open. I think you're exploring the way we legislate and regulate it makes perfect sense. But just so the board's aware, through conversations with Attorney Baselli, there really is no, as a non-home rule community, clear path for us to differentiate between the Delta 9 drinks and the bottle formats or other formats of this product. So relaxing or repealing whatever the board's will would be of this ordinance would be a broad repeal or relaxation of the ordinance, not only relative to the drinks, but back to the flour-based products that were within some of these stores, which I think, if I recall correctly, was the concern that was brought to me by the board or the sold. So I think it's just, again, it's a policy decision by the board, from a law enforcement perspective, you know, recognize the fact that they can go anywhere and buy these things. As a police officer is always concerned with public safety, unsafe operations vehicles. You know, my position is always be the less of these products we have, the better. It's a professional association position. But again, also recognizing the challenges that you come against as a business owner, knowing that somebody very likely drive 3 miles from the road and purchase the same product.
And if I recall, we haven't had any enforcement issue or issue to any businesses regarding this ordinance as of yet, correct?
That's not correct. No.
Is that
we have had hearings and the mayor has imposed suspensions of licenses. So good. Some of these products. Justine again.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. It's a really tough situation because I do want to protect the children. And I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I am a mom of a former teenage boy, now grown up, but he really put me through the ringer in high school. I tried everything to keep him safe and on the straight and narrow. And just when I thought I had done all the searching of his backpack and his car and all of that, he borrowed my car and I went to the doctor's office and said, no, I don't do any illicit substances, and a marijuana pen rolled out of my car because he had borrowed it the night before. So it's hard to think about allowing it in the community with the risks out there, because I know my son would have been first in line if one of these stores, 18 and under, would have sold it to him. And I did some research that when children do take THC, their brains are really impacted differently than an adult. So they might have more of a psychotic effect of it versus if one of us, consumed it. So I do have the worry about the kids, but on the flip side, I'm also a small business owner and I understand the struggle. And a lot of people that I've spoken to, I know Trustee Peterson's heard other things, but I've talked to other parents and neighbors, and they're not necessarily against this, but more along the lines of, is there something, as Trustee Bluthart said, legally that we can do? Can we make it 21 and older? And guess what? If those people are violating it and the chief or police catch them, can we have stricter penalties where these people can't sell it? I'd almost rather see something like that doesn't punish you, but still is along the line of protecting kids from, consuming products. Because again, I can see my son being 17 or 18 trying to scoot on over to gather some of that. I know you have a comment too, but one of the other concerns I had when I read the statute is, the ordinance rather, I don't think there's any sort of regulation about how many milligrams. I don't know if that's something we can regulate, because I'm reading that they can be 5 and 50 and 100, and I'm assuming that the effects from 100 is a lot different than somebody drinking something with 5. And then I guess my last comment is, so if we could tighten it up to 21 or older, we could make stiffer penalties. We could, if it's possible, to regulate the milligrams. The other part that I had was, I know that Attorney Vasselli was trying to combat, I think the chief of police is concerned about these flower things being unsafe. And so he added that wording, if it's deemed safe by a federal or governmental agency. And it's kind of vague. I don't really know what that means. I don't know if there's word tightening or wordsmithing that he can come up with that makes it more clear. Because I would imagine from a law enforcement perspective, it's hard to punish somebody when you're looking at these products. I don't know. Are they safe? Have they been government? I don't know if there's any sort of list we could come up with, but basically what I'm saying is I'm concerned about kids, because I was a mom and I know how scary it is when your kids might consume or overdose, or like Trustee Macy said, get in a car and hurt somebody or themselves. But I hate to punish people, because I know that a lot of people are using these products and they're available everywhere and they like them. If there's a way that we can do it safely, that would be what I would be on board with.
All I was going to say really is that you're not going to hear a complaint from me at over 21, because that's what I think it should be.
Yeah, I know that you're always along those lines, but I know others maybe are not, and they've caught them selling.
Yeah, and you talk about the flower things, I don't even know what they are, so I can't really comment on them.
And I guess maybe we need to hear from Attorney Vasselli more, and then some of the legalities of what we can and cannot do.
I start off by saying, as a current IDOT employee, this will never be in my realm. Still considered a narcotic. My wife, being in law enforcement, she fought against narcotics. So I don't have a dog in this fight. I will say this though, just because we have the authority to make an ordinance and a law doesn't mean we should. And I don't know if legal can help me with this, but going back to this Delta 9 product, if it's considered a natural product, wouldn't it be under the realm of 21 and over?
So what I'm seeing here too, and again, from what Chief is saying, the actual chemical makeup better than I do. It's from hemp, is that correct? So under the Cannabis Act, it basically can't, I'll show you here. The Cannabis Act does not include hemp products. So does not cannabis. So that's the problem.
THC derived from hemp, which is where the legal loophole is.
Now, having said that, I do say that the idea of limiting the distance that this product can be from the entranceway, expanding it, 80 feet you suggested, I do think that is something we could consider working through our ordinance just the same. At the end of the day, I agree that this product's been legal since 2018. There are only about a dozen communities out of 1,300 communities in the state of Illinois that put any type of ordinance restriction on it. So we aren't really limiting anything more than ability for sales revenue to be generated and foot traffic to be generated into our current businesses. So that is something that we should also take into consideration, that they're already under pressure. And again, we thought about talking about dollars and cents. it's not just the dollars and cents, it's the foot traffic. So we have no idea where, yeah, this product, I don't even know what these things go for, but it might generate $1 in sales, but we might lose $100 in sales because they didn't come in to pick up that one product. So those are little things that come to mind when it comes down to this ordinance. That's
Trustee Pierce?
No, I think we probably do need better definition of legalities and what we can do and what we can't do. The losses of the facility and everybody probably has to get their fingers to the burners. When it comes to the state of Illinois, I think they have failed. The leadership in the state has failed our residents in how they've handled this, because they basically let it be free for all, so businesses can just free for all on it, and corporations or whoever is making money can make money for whatever reasons. I think there's a complete failure by the state. The state should be regulating this. They should be setting an age limit. They had an age limit. I would be more conducive to it. But I think for whatever reasons they haven't. I know Texas just recently on May 29th passed a bill, the Senate and their House passed a bill to ban the sale, manufacture, and distribution of any THC product within their state. It's an under government sign. I also know it's a $12.1 billion business down there. So I can't imagine that it's not about the same amount of business here, and why the state's not regulating that and taxing the hell out of that, out of my property tax to be unregulated, so to speak. I don't get it. I don't know what the problem is with the state. When it comes to these products, sometimes, in my opinion, you have to take a stand. In my own personal life and in my past, I've seen the impact of these products on people and where they've led people to. And I spent years sailing the 7 seas of patrolling, trying to stop the distribution of pathmarks into our country. I really don't think it's good stuff. Maybe residential was the greatest stuff growing. Maybe not. I won't admit anything. But I don't see where, just because it's good business and everybody can do what they want to do and they can bring in lots of money, that sometimes we have to say, this isn't quite right, even if the leadership in the state won't take a stand, other than say, sell cannabis so we can tax it, we can open licenses, get licenses. So I'm just stuck at the better legal information on this point. I don't agree with it.
Mary?
I'd like a better legal opinion as well. That's all I have.
Well, like all good lawyers, I'm using ChatGPT to do some research on this. So I think you'll find some interesting stuff too, what states allow it and what don't allow it, for example. We'll ask the attorneys to get us some more information on this. But I think for the peace of mind for the business owners, that this needs to be a thumbs up or thumbs down vote at our next meeting, so that they can know how to conduct their business. So I'm going to push for this in some format to get on the regular meeting next time. There may be some more limited discussion on it based on what they come back with as a draft. But at least I think it's only fair to everybody here to try to get some clarity one way or the other.
Well, we need to know what we can do as far as not being non-home rule.
Sure.
But, other communities can do this. They can ban it. We can't.
Mr. Pierce?
I don't agree with what I mentioned again, just to satisfy people's concerns. I think if our attorneys have to put together, do their study, put together a package, they have to distribute this, and we have to face to face be able to ask them my questions about it, and go ahead and sure that this gentleman take off for a discussion to push a vote through.
Okay. Well, at our next Wednesday staff meeting, see where they're at with the attorneys on this. When we're talking about next agenda, and then we'll obviously send all of it forward, and we'll stay in touch with Adam too, so we know where we're at.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't support really a repeal of the ordinance. I support a modification of the ordinance to to not only saying you won't sell it to anyone but your employment here today, rather than you won't sell it here.
Well, thank you for coming in here. I appreciate it. Any other business that needs to be discussed other than getting better air conditioning next? No, because we got community reports. We got department reports. Community developments. Do you have anything, Howard?
Well, just to keep it brief, in the next meeting, I'm gonna bring under the Cal the updated ICC 2024 code update. So more legal.
Excuse me, Howard, could you speak right into the microphone? I can hear you.
Yeah, very light.
Hello?
Yeah.
So just to keep it brief, in the next meeting, under the Cal meeting, I'm gonna bring the proposed ordinance for the adoption of the 2024 ICC code plus the amendments for different sections of the code. So that's being worked by our attorney internally, so that's gonna be ready for the next meeting. I already generated a letter, so I'm gonna mail it out to all businesses that are construction related with what we as a community were proposing to do. So if there's any comments, address them to me, I'll bring those comments to the board meeting. Other than that, working with the building department, it's our busy season, assisting in zoning reviews. Also working on the enforcement of the Antioch shopping center, like the administrator mentioned. Trying to get some positive results. Last week they cut the grass, so that's a win for us. Last week they were able to clean up their parking lot. Last week I was able to show the property owner that the catch basins need to be cleaned out on a routine basis. That's been done. He's painted a portion of Asian Harbor. Proposed colors that he's proposing to do, it's going to be a beige and a light brown for the canopy poles. So he is making progress. I take it that the fines have really caught his attention through the adjudication process, also through the fire district because of the fire alarm. So I think the fines are starting to catch him. He's like, whoa, you guys are charging me a lot. Well, yes, because it's been almost a year of nothing being done on your side. So it was positive. It was positive for him to be here last Thursday. Both Majura and I walked the site with him. I went over and over all the stuff that the light poles, the bollard around the light poles should be painted. Tuck pointing underneath the windowsills, changing the lighting. If not all the lighting is working, some of them would have to be changed over. Looking at the EFIS and the canopy, how certain sections are opening up. That's just requirement through maintaining your building. Looking at the catch basins, like I said, the retaining walls, the overall maintenance of the site, stuff like that. So yeah, we're making progress. Abortion is faster. We're making progress.
Thank you. Any questions? I think Howard. Thank you very much. What else do we have? Finance. You drive straight here from Florida?
I did. Running 38 hours straight here now, wearing down. So before I left, I had, I think I mentioned a few times, request for information from the auditors, the software, the actuary, and arbitrage. And we were able to provide them a lot of information before I left. And so while I was gone, a lot of their responses had come back. Different things that are going on. So tomorrow morning, the auditors begin the preliminary audit. And I think we're pretty well prepared for them. The arbitrator arbitrage calculation came back from PFM Asset Management. They do a calculation to determine if there's a yield restriction compliance analysis that they prepare. So this is all related to the Series 2022 bonds, the $20 million that was issued out. And what they do is they do a calculation to show the allowable yield on investments was 3.64. But what Antioch received was 4.85, so the excess yield was 1.21. And in their calculation, it's $539,000 that we owe back to the IRS. That has not been booked. It should have been booked each year for the last 2 years at least. And so this is the third calculation, and so I looked to see what the effect was. I found out there wasn't booked as a liability, so now it's a full liability that'll go on to this audit for $539,000, and it's due and payable before August 15th of 2027. What I need to find out next is that if there's a growing of this dollar amount, or if it just ended because all the money's been spent now, the number might just end, and now it's a matter of when are we going to pay it. So I have to look into that as well right now. We have the BSA software migration, again, a lot of requests for information, but they're working well with us. Amy, again, is just doing phenomenal with the data extraction. We'll work through some of the hiccups that they were having in extracting the data from the G-Works or some city. So I think everything's going on pretty well. Just busy at the moment, that's all.
Thank you. Any question, Trustee Pierce?
Can you explain why we owe $539,000 to the IRS?
Yep. So when you sell bonds, you're allowed to only make a certain amount on it. So if you sell bonds and go, hey, we can make a fortune right now and have all this interest and use it for these other purposes, they say, no, that's not why we let you do the bonds. You can only make a certain amount of interest return on that. And they have a number, 3.64. But the monies were put in with PFM, where they're investing, very actively investing it, they outperform that number. And anything over the number 364 then goes back to the government.
Are there any loopholes? Like, I just got a letter from the Illinois IRS that I owe them money because they didn't have proof of my retirement pay and my life retirement pay. I had certain proof that showed that I was okay.
Yeah, if there was a way around it, somebody would be in the business of selling that service as well. So, not happening.
All right. Thank you. Police.
For our community engagement, we have Anna Reeves, at the University of Stevens Point. She'll be riding up with us from Chicago, so let's figure out all that full operations, investigations, after records. And then a reminder that this Saturday is a special storage run. We start in the slag at Main Street and Orchard and taking it to Main Grass Lake, about 2.5 miles, and hopefully, I'm sure, stay down somewhere else.
Thank you. I gotta get over. It's that commanding deputy chief. All right. Thank you. Yep.
Deputy Chief, question for you. And maybe it's appropriate for me to bring it up, but we had an incident, juvenile incidents where here, are we talking about adding more foot patrol, or what are we doing with their CRO office?
So we do have park patrols there now, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. About the exact hours that we have, what we have scheduled strategically during high peak time. During that incident, we did have an officer that was a code enforcement officer that was on location. We obviously can't take up entire the omnipresent park. He was on the other side. They did come to him. He radioed when he was supposed to be over here, and our officers being responded here. We found our juvenile of the blocks. So we do have.
But do we have CRO officers?
We currently have an opening, and we just posted it. Might have one that applied. We do have another case also. Yeah, there's not a. The community should know that we might not have an officer on its branch, but we can't get away with crime without.
I mean, you and I would be well versed in this, where especially with Main Street, downtown Antioch, having a foot patrol would be idle. Would be an addition not only to us, but also our patrons that come in, our businesses. Is there some consideration? Is there any foot patrol at all besides Seaport Park?
So foot patrols are a common part of all of our offices. officers that are on duties, responsibilities, so there's a number of different things they're tasked with during the call unallocated time. Right, it's time to not actively investigating calls, responding to calls, going to emergencies, ready for force. Neighborhood patrols are one of those, getting out of the cars, we encourage them to get out in the parks, walk the parks. We spend any time in the late evenings, or overnight even in the park, the officers are walking.
So we don't have business days. One officer, two officers assigned just to patrol.
Well, no, and unfortunately, it's not a real common thing on our side. You see it all the time in larger cities. We'd like to have a lot greater presence in the community.
What do we do right now that the police that are involved with the schools as our community resource officers with the schools? What are they doing right now that the schools are closed?
They're signing patrol activities, so they help bolster our roster during the summer hours on patrol.
I would just say, for me, as an advocate for what I do, where I'm the face of Metro here in our community, that just the same, those community resource officers are well versed with students, would be something to or maybe reassign them, have more of a presence at Sequoia Creek, and have them more of a presence as our business liaisons, as opposed to just being drifted off. But that's at your discretion.
Sure.
I hate to have to kind of respond a little bit. What's our current allocation dollar for this department?
For our total budget,
For our total budget, so
$8.2 million that we would share.
So the CSOs are the CRO. They are paid for doing the year with the school, by the school.
Yes, our side, roughly 75% of the are. And I completely understand the concern. The village would love to see more officers in the streets too, but it's also more to accurately represent the staffing that we work with. We have 32 sworn officers, the same numbers that we were operating with roughly in 2007. Again, also kind of taking into our vacancy rate, it's averaged about 20% a year over the last 5 years. You see the numbers that while we've seen those call increases and demands for service increases. So I think overall, I would champion the way that the department and Commander Smith over the years has allocated our resources. Commander Smith, we operate, it's look the baby. But again, I was looking for suggestions on how to do things better, and I fully hear your input, trustee, and try to find creative ways to leverage our resources deeply in the business.
But my point I'm getting to here is it's a great idea. We should have people walking. We should have big man at the park 24/7. But there are dollars involved in this, and there are manpower issues. We allocate more dollars to the police department to have more officers on patrol, and it should be an overtime and having to hire more officers to stop the random unfortunate incident that occurred and becomes a Facebook issue. Then we have to take those dollars from somewhere else. So yes, we can discuss what we want to discuss, but we have to be realistic that there are dollar amounts that.
And we would say that downtown is where we get most of our damage.
No,
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, we're putting on the show tomorrow, showcase our.
I like that.
All right. Well, we can have more of these discussions offline and keep the discussion point open. So again, thank you. I didn't have any requests for executive session, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion trustee McNeil, second trustee Mazik. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 9:44 p.m.